This meeting of the Finance Committee is now resumed. We had Head 64, Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Page 319. Head 64, Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the sum of $2,176,150,000. I will now invite the Minister of National Security to make a brief opening statement for a maximum of 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the House, Executive of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Commissioner of Police, Mr. Griffith. Ma'am, as we are all aware, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is tasked constitutionally with the responsibility for the safety and security of Trinidad and Tobago. We welcome the new Commissioner and his acting Deputy Commissioners and the other executives here, and we're ready to proceed.
Thank you. Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $2,176,150,000 for Head 64, Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, stand part of the schedule. Honorable members, the sum of $2,176,150,000 for Head 64, Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subheads and items to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure and the draft estimates of the development program. We now shall proceed to consider the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. Subhead 01, Personal Expenditure, page 319. Member for Kamuto Manzanilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the Honorable Minister, line item 01 and 02. Will this increase, Honorable Minister, make provision for the SRPs who will be put on par, because there's a request for them to be put on par with their colleagues? They do not have the same benefits and they do the same job.
Sorry, I didn't get the last part. Will this...
The SRPs, if this increase will allow for the, make provision for the SRPs to put on par with their colleagues in the police service. They're not on the same...
No, but that wouldn't fall under the budgetary item. This allows for the hiring of more SRPs, but with respect to what you've just raised, that's a policy decision that I'm sure will be looked at.
Member for Nagrima.
Item 01, the 10 million increase, and it says includes provision for vacant posts with incumbents. Would the Minister care to give us an idea which posts?
All right, we'll have to provide that.
No problem. Thanks very much.
Member for Nagrima.
Thank you. Item 03, overtime, monthly paid officers, and I know I've read in the item 03.
Yes.
And I've read in the public forum the idea that the government is going to look closely at the overtime. But I see in 2018 the estimates were 300, so they estimated 300 million, but spent 66 million more. And I see in 2019 it is 311, decreased by 55 million. Could the Minister tell us some of the steps that are being taken to reduce overtime so that we won't have another situation where the revised figure ends up high?
Correct. One of the things that has happened in the past couple of months is there's been a review of the overtime and audit of the overtime. There were certain discrepancies that were discovered. So certain measures, additional approval measures have been put in place, and that is one of the items and one of the steps that has been taken to reduce if there was in fact this inflation, and there's a strong belief and evidence to support that there was an inflation of the overtime figures. So that there are measures that have been put in place, including audit measures and approval measures.
Have some comfort in the mid-year review that it would be a similar exercise where we would call upon to increase the
to decrease the overtime.
The figure for overtime. The measures you think you're
No,
satisfied with them?
but what it does is those measures will lead to a decrease
Yes.
in the figure for overtime. Yes.
Minister, could you give us an idea of the complement of the police service that will, under the salaries and cost of living and wages and COLA? How many officers?
7,200 serving office. Sorry, 7,200 serving officers, 3,100 SRPs.
So the SRPs is in addition to that?
Yes.
But are those 7,200 positions filled, or are they that's supposed to be
Yeah, that's filled because it's serving officers.
serving officers? All right, thank
Member
you.
for Point of Peer. Member for Tabaquite.
Mr. Of the 10,300 available officers, how many officers are actually working? When you consider that you have officers who are suspended, officers on sick leave, officers on vacation, how many officers are actually working?
All right, the estimate at this stage is about, from that figure, about 500 are not actively working.
500 not actively working.
Are not actively working. So deduct the 500. Sick leave, suspension, etc.
So is it, do the officers work on shifts?
Yes.
And what is the length of a shift?
8 hours with a 40-hour work week.
So what then would you say would be the complement of officers on any shift?
Yeah, I don't have that information. What you are asking at any given point in time.
How many officers are manning the country on an 8-hour shift?
We'll have to provide that information. No, correct, yeah.
Member for Orupuchis.
It's
That
okay.
information will be provided in writing, yes?
Yes.
Member for Orupuchis. Member for Naparima.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 10,000 officers, and I was told last year that the sanctioned strength of the police service is 7,000, some figure
Correct.
like that.
So 7,200 serving officers.
When one does the analysis, we have about 3 or 4 times police per capita than comparative countries like Canada and the United States. I'm told. Per capita, yeah. I think you're aware of that.
I don't think it's as much as 3 or 4, but we do have a higher ratio.
Have a higher
yes,
rate.
Depending on
Right.
with certain North American and Scandinavian countries. Yes.
Excellent, thanks. Has there been any attempt? I know a manpower audit was done, but has there been any attempt to determine what ought to be our sanctioned strength of the police service, given our culture of the particular realities, that environmental realities we have in Trinidad?
There have been several studies over the past few years, including the most recent, which was laid in Parliament, and then the National Security Joint Select Committee looked at, etc., the Professor Diosaran report. So the answer is yes, there have been a number of appraisals, reports, studies done over the years. The most current one that we're looking at and we're going to work from is the Diosaran report.
Diosaran. And
yes.
Did it give a figure for an idea?
It did, yes.
Could you tell us, please?
Well, it was laid in Parliament. I can't remember the figure, but I'm sure we could find it in the Parliament.
Because this will speak to recruitment and those
Correct.
issues. Good.
But remember, you have attrition with retirement, leave, and these types of things.
Thank you.
But yes.
Thank you.
Member for Kamucha Mansinella.
Thank you.
Okay.
Honorable Minister, the staff complement for the police service, is it 7,200 plus, or is it?
You heard what the commissioner was just telling me. The sanction strength is 7,884, so we have 7,200. So the quick mathematics has 684 short.
And will the policy that you will have to make, obviously, look at putting the SRPs who may be qualified into those positions?
SRPs, as you may know, some of the SRPs are already retired police officers, etc. So you have to look at who can be absorbed from the SRP into the permanent police force. So that is something that I understand is constantly ongoing, etc.
And how many positions are there for the SRPs?
How many positions? Right now, we have a total of 2,965 SRPs, which includes the male and the female. That's the current strength. And then we have 374 retired officers who are precepted into the SRP.
And on line item 58, these medical expenses are related to
58.
58.
What
Remember
page is that?
What,
Same page, 321.
what page member are you on? We're on 319.
Oh, sorry.
I not seeing that.
Sorry.
Member for Karen East. Member for Oropouche East.
Thank you very much, ma'am, today. Honorable Minister, just about 2 or 3 quick questions. You said earlier about the 500 that police officers that are not in service at the time for one of several reasons.
They're not on duty.
On duty. Could you undertake to provide to us a breakdown of that, of the 500, for what purpose it would be, and also for the persons themselves, how long an individual officer will not be on duty because of a certain reason?
The Commissioner of Police has actually recently asked for that to be done. So when it is done, we'll take a look at it, and if it can be provided, it will be provided.
Sure. The other question here is, you spoke of the shortage or shortfall in the numbers at 684. How many officers is it intended that this year in the fiscal 2019 you would try to recruit to work on that 684?
About 500, 2 batches.
500?
Yeah.
Okay. And finally, at 06, if you could just give us a short detail on remuneration to board members, what boards these would be, what boards identify that would be provided for in this head?
That's the examination board.
Only the examination board?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Member for Tabaquite.
Mr. Minister, I'm getting some problems reconciling your figures. You said there are 7,200 officers
Serving officers, yeah.
and 3,100 SRPs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of that amount, only 500 are not serving at any one point in time. Actively serving, right? Yep. So I might assume that those are officers on suspension and sick leave. What about the percentage of officers who are on leave of this 10,300 or the 7,200? What percentage of officers are on leave? I'm trying to establish really how many officers are on the ground during a shift.
No, hold on. You're mixing things up. Let me answer them sequentially. Okay. So I told you the figure that are not actively on duty for suspension, sick leave, etc. is roughly around 500. There are actually 6,694 that can be placed on duty.
Right.
All right. And then that's in the establishment.
Right.
And then 1,977 for the SRPs. All right. And then out of that, and it wouldn't be the SRPs, it would be the establishment. There's about a 15% who are on leave at given points in time, outside of the suspension and sick leave, your normal leave, your vacation leave, and these types of things.
About 1,000.
Well, just
1,050, 1,060.
Yeah, correct.
Right?
Yes. Well, 10.
So you have about 6,000 officers now.
Correct.
Of the 7,000.
Out of the establishment, correct.
And if you divide that in 3 shifts or 2 shifts?
Well, you see, depending on the different branch or the different area of the service that you're in, you may be on a shift system, guard and emergencies 24/7, you can get called out, etc. Special branch and station. So it is not as simple as that,
Right.
but go on.
And this 7,200 that you're talking about, does this include officers who are doing administrative duties?
Yes.
So then, active policing, in terms of people who are in the police stations, who are on the front line, as you want to call it, actively, how many officers are really available in active policing? Because if you have the administrative people in the administration, that's a different thing to the people who are operational on the front line.
Well, I mean, it kind of, what you may be suggesting there or implying there contradicts with the statement that Naparima made a short while ago. Because the statement he was making is that our ratio is higher than, if we will excuse North America and some Scandinavian countries. So when you do that analysis of the two, I am not quite sure what the answer is or what it is that you're asking, but the ratios aren't below where they should be.
I want to ask a question, but 30 seconds to make the preliminary, Madam Speaker. It's simply this. There's a feeling outside in the population, many times when you call a station, we don't have policemen available, right? And I'm trying to establish really how many police officers are on active duty on a shift that we don't get this kind of comment being made. That's what I'm trying to get at. And it cannot be 7,000.
We've established is not going to be 7,000.
And then when you establish that it's 6,000, about 6,000.
Correct, but it'll be even less than that, because when you take out guard and emergency, you take out mops, you take out special, and these types of things.
Right. So it begs the point.
About 1,600 to 2,000, I'm told,
right.
in the
station. So now you come down to 4,400 officers, and you have 2 shifts basically. So is it that the country is at any one point in time manned by an equivalent of about 2,200 to 2,500 policemen on the shift?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But you have operational arms that you can call out should there be a need for an emergency basis and this type of thing. But yes.
In the context, therefore, of the crime situation as we have it,
what is this? Which line item is it?
Isn't there a case now, therefore, for the precepting of officers in the defense force to supplement the police service and make it more highly operational in terms of crime fighting?
Okay, member for Miaro.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chairman. Minister, taking note of the, line 03 in terms of the overtime, taking note of this 15% more so reduction in terms of the overtime, also taking note that there may be some fluff, 15% reduction from 366 to 311, 15%. And taking note that there may be some fluffing going on in terms of the overtime. Do you think with that reduction that, and a lot of the policing is strategic, it's not planned, in the night you have to pull together a team to do raids and so on. Do you think by putting this control on it, we may end up putting a little pressure on the police service to deliver on some of those type of activities which are not planned, and what do you think the police will be putting in place to avoid a reduction in that type of overnight service and so on?
The answer is no. What has been put in place is a proper accountability and a transparent system where we're making sure that the taxpayer gets value for money on payment of overtime. This will in no way affect the type of operations that you've referred to.
Member for Caroni East.
Would you be able to provide information on the complements in the various ranks of the police service and how many acting appointments there are in the various ranks, if you have it? You have it there now?
No, we'll provide it.
Yeah, all right, okay.
Subhead 02, Goods and Services. Item 001, Police Service, Trinidad. Member for Naparima.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 17, Training. It was on the next page, with 320,
yeah.
02001, Training. I note that 2.5 million was estimated in 2018, but only 1 million spent. And it has been increased by 500,000 this year. Given what I read about the new thrust in the police service, the new technologies that are being brought on board, the need for forensic capability, white-collar crime, money laundering, I think, the list could go on and on. Is 1.5 million enough to retool the police to deal with the challenges and the new approach that is being identified?
What we've been attempting to do is similar to what I had said earlier, is we are speaking to our international partners and our allies to see how we could utilize some of their training programs, etc. And as you would be aware, many of these countries have in their budgets the ability to come out to countries such as Trinidad and provide that training. So we have been doing that. There has been a lot of supplementation going on through that aspect, and we'll continue to do so. And if $1.5 million is not enough, as you know, we can via money from other heads, etc.
A supplemental?
Member for Dafrima.
Could the minister indicate what are the areas, the priority areas for training in fiscal 2019?
One of the things that the commissioner and myself are doing is we're speaking to the Social and Welfare, Police Social and Welfare Association for the officers themselves to identify some of the areas that they would like us to access this type of training. And one of the areas, for example, is how to deal with gangs and these types of things. But we will leave it for the officers to identify where they think the prioritization of training should be in the most instance. And then, of course, the commissioner and his executive will decide the other areas. Fraud,
Member.
computers, yes, etc.
Member for Kamuto Mantinilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have 3 line items. The first one, line item 61, insurance. Is this for active officers on duty?
No.
Okay. Is there insurance for?
Self-insurance, the state self-insures. So if officers are injured on duty, etc., the state pays for it.
And line item 58, this for the active officers on duty?
The medical expenses, yes. So this is a fund that they would be able to access, but we also utilize the state public health sector system. And again, if this isn't sufficient, we'll via money.
And 51, final. Can you advise how many officers?
Sorry, which one? 51, right,
Yeah.
relocation,
Yeah, how many officers relocated overseas as overseas staff?
Just what they say. Right now we have 2, but there is a drive for us to increase that.
Member for Chaguanas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 3 under goods and services, uniforms. It was mentioned in the budget that there's going to be a change in the uniform.
Which number?
303 uniforms.
319, page 319.
Yes.
Has the design been completed for these new uniforms?
It is currently being looked at. There is a design that has been proposed.
I want the Honorable Minister to take into consideration that the Star of David is a colonial relic and is a sign of Judaism. And after 56 years of independence, you may want to contemplate a new insignia for the police service.
Thank you very much.
Member for Faisabad.
In item 13, maintenance of vehicles, and I'm speaking to the estimate of 34 million for maintenance of vehicles. Three related questions. One, the number of vehicles that will be serviced by this allowance, by this allocation. 2, the number of vehicles that will be out of service at any given time. And 3, the average time that vehicles will be off the road for service.
All right. The number of vehicles currently is 1,758. The number that are operational are 1,350, 1,350. So we have 428 non-operational vehicles. The Commissioner of Police has been looking at he's currently doing an audit out of those 428, what can be brought back to be roadworthy. To answer the last question is an impossibility, because as you would know, you could send your vehicle in and they tell you 1 day, they tell you 2 days, it could turn to 3 weeks, etc. So it's impossible to say for 428 vehicles what is the average time, and it would be depending on what it has gone in for.
Just a follow-up, Minister. In terms of the number of vehicles that are operational, are you satisfied that those numbers are adequate to provide the service that the public requires?
I know what the Commissioner and his executive are looking at is getting the best value out of what is operational. You will hear launched very shortly an addition of some vehicles to the fleet, and those vehicles are going to be specifically utilized for basically a response unit, and that will give them a better capability at getting where they need to get in terms of crime.
Member for Chaguanas East.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'm on line item 13 on page 320. Am I okay with that? Yes, sir. Okay. With respect to the maintenance of vehicles. Minister, you indicated that there were 428 vehicles that were non-operational. I just want to indicate that sometimes citizens like us may be pulled off the road and charged for defective vehicles. And when I look at some of the police vehicles, you could see clearly, well, I'm not using the words of the Minister of Finance, but you could see clearly now that some of them delighting and so on. Can you tell us of the 420 that are non-operational, how many of those are defective? Because you must do a little audit.
Well, as I indicated a short while ago, there's currently an audit taking place.
Okay. And let me just ask the other question then. For an average police station, for example, I live in the Freeport area. How many vehicles will you say are available actively to service the geographic catchment area of Freeport?
4 to 5.
4 to 5. And those are actually in operation?
Yes.
Okay. And is that considered, Minister, to be acceptable in terms of the active policing of a geographic area like Freeport?
What I just indicated, this unit that is going to be revived, revamped, and resourced, the response unit, it is going to be driven by intelligence as to where we locate the base for some of those vehicles. So some of the larger, more spaced out constituencies, we will supplement the stations by positioning some of those vehicles there.
Okay, in terms of ensuring that the 428 become operational, that you mentioned, can you indicate where these vehicles are repaired? I know VIMCOT was set up as well, but can you indicate what's the...
As you would be aware, in every, throughout Trinidad and Tobago, there are a number of garages that do the work for it. Also, we utilize the dealerships when they're under warranty. As a cabinet, we've recently asked that VEMCOT be properly utilized to provide service for all government vehicles, which would include police vehicles.
Well, just going to ask the last one on that. What percentage of the vehicles would you say are being serviced by VIMCOT as opposed to these private garages?
Not enough.
Okay.
Member for Princestown.
Thank you, Madam Chair, to the Honourable Minister. Honourable Minister, line item 17 under training. When you look at the Auditor General report of 2017, Honourable Minister, you would see that TTPS, together with the fire service, but I know we are dealing with TTPS right now, but there are others, that are listed in the Auditor General's report as having provided no statistics, no data as it relates to the use of IT and technology, and there's no reporting mechanism. Under line item 17, can you say whether or not this training would reflect the recommendations of the Auditor General's report as it relates to their recommendations in the area of service delivery through IT and technology?
Yes.
Could the Honourable Minister indicate why there has been no reporting by the TTPS if they are trained persons in the ministry to provide this, in the TTPS, to provide this data and statistics? Why has there been no reporting for the past 2 years?
I am not certain on what you are referring to specifically.
Minister, are you saying that you are not aware of the Auditor General report?
But what are you referring to specifically, and what does it have to do with IT?
17,
which is training, correct.
Auditor General report says the TTPS does not have competent qualified persons. So I'm asking whether or not this training item in 17 will equip the TTPS to have these competencies.
The Commissioner of Police will hire persons
so
where
are
necessary.
You then saying that there's no one at this point, and that is why there has been no reporting as stated in the Auditor General's report?
I don't even accept for a moment what you are saying is correct and accurate.
So therefore, Minister, are you saying that you do not know what is in the Auditor General report?
I said that I am not accepting for a moment that what you are reflecting
so therefore
as the
you
Auditor
have not
General.
Read it.
Would you allow me to finish?
Member for Princestown. Member for Oropuch East.
Just a few questions, please. Just a few questions to the Minister. Minister, given
all right,
Minister,
please.
Minister, given the item on page 319 at uniforms, just to follow up on an earlier question. have the, this is the provision for fiscal, 03 uniforms.
Right.
This is clearly the provision for 2019, $8 million.
Well, it can't be zero.
Is it anticipated in fiscal 2019 that you would complete the re-outfitting of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service with the new uniforms? And if so, this would not be able to provide that type of funding. So you're putting in place some other funding for that project?
What we've said is that we are looking at and discussing with the TTPS the possibility of change out of the uniforms. They've made a submission, it's being looked at, but you're right. If that decision is taken and we're able to complete the a proper procurement process, that will not be a sufficient amount of money.
So that
what you can do is you via money. If we get it done by the mid-year review, we would supplement in the mid-year review.
Another issue I would just like to raise, I'm at 320, item 96. Minister, clearly you would have equipment, vehicles, and what have you at the police service that depends on super gasoline. Now, in the budget, that took a hit. Have you factored in the increase in the cost of fuel for the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service because of the raise in the price of gas, which would not have been in the documents so far?
Yes, it was factored in by the Ministry of Finance.
So
they recognize that in the mid-year review, if there's a need to supplement, they will.
Oh, so you will look at the mid-year review for
Yes.
that. So 6 months from now, we'll do that, because the $10 million...
no, it was 20.
It's 20. The 20 is the same as the
Correct.
last year.
Yes, correct.
And in fact, the 20 is slightly
Well, and we're
lower.
also putting GPS into the vehicles, and we'll make sure they're being used more
Use less
efficiently, etc.
gas.
But if we have to come in for more gas, we will.
Yeah, because the actual for 2017 was 26 million. It is down to 20 with an increase in the price of fuel. May I go on to another issue? Now, in the budget delivered by the very worthy Minister of Finance,
I'll tell you that as your friend.
the worthy Minister of Finance, not worthy, worthy Minister of Finance, the minister outlined a program and an initiative of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service under your Ministry for National Security, and told us that you would outline in the debate much more. Again, we didn't hear from you, so what could I ask, given that a major accent, as announced in the Finance Minister budget, deals with IT, would it have been useful, Minister, to have a new line item for the police service that deals with the provision of
speak about
IT?
a line item that doesn't exist?
Madam Speaker, let me then
Line
speak.
item that doesn't exist?
Madam Speaker, let me then speak. I'm speaking on goods and supplies,
Asking for
materials and
clarity.
supplies.
Madam Chairman, I'm asking for clarity. Can we speak about a line item that doesn't exist? Good. So
Madam
move
Speaker,
on. Move along.
Madam Speaker, I'm speaking on materials and supplies, of which
Under what
IT
item?
services.
You're under item 12.
Yes, that's
Yes.
exactly where I am. So, what I'm saying, Minister, is that given the emphasis played on IT and driving policing in the 21st century with the use of IT, have you factored in the budget at any point in time the need to purchase equipment, whether it's laptops or iPads or smartphones for the police service? And where will we find it in your estimates? Guide us. So it's a minor equipment purchase.
Under minor equipment purchases, you'll see things like office equipment, other minor equipment, etc.
We haven't reached theirs yet.
Notwithstanding that had a decrease, but we haven't reached there
We
yet.
haven't yet reached theirs
And
yet.
it's also going
Okay.
to be in the development program as
Okay,
well,
we'll
as
see
you
there.
would imagine.
Could I go on to my next issue on medical expenses, and I'm on page 320.
Item 58.
58, yes. Does this include medical expenses for former police officers, retired police officers, to visit the doctors and so on? Because and I'm asking this question in the context of a complaint made by former police officers, a constituent, that when you leave the police service, you don't have the benefit of going to the doctor, the police service doctor, so to speak. You have to pay. Is this, would medical expenses include that?
Yes.
So are you saying that former retired police officers can still get free
No,
medical?
you asked me whether this is the line item that covers that, my answer was yes.
But
it
does
is
it,
the line item
does it
that
cover it for
covers.
former and retired police officers, yes or no?
They would all be familiar with what their terms and conditions are and what they're
So
covered
you don't
with.
know? But you could check. You don't have to tell me now.
Not all
I don't need the answer now. It's just an issue I'm raising. I'm raising for the benefit of yourself and the commissioner that former police officers who have served many, many years, they have a complaint about not accessing medical services when they leave. The member for Toko Manzanella may have some idea of this as well. Thank you.
Madam Chair. 16 on page 320, goods and services, contract employment.
16, right.
I wanted to ask what quantity of that 54 million involves contract officers who are retired officers who have been rehired.
We'll have to provide that.
Okay. I can get that information. Good. The other thing I wanted to ask is that when you account for the serving officers as 7,200, that would include these contracted officers or contract officers, yeah?
No, that could fall under SRPs. It could fall under the administrative side.
So this would be separate?
Yeah.
So it would not include the,
no.
regular? Okay. All right, fine.
Member for Caroni East.
You indicated that you considered 4 vehicles per station.
4 to 5.
4 to 5 adequate. How many police stations we have in Trinidad so we can get an idea how many vehicles needed to be outside?
77 stations in Trinidad and Tobago.
So it's close to 400. 77 by 5 is 385. Yeah, it's close to 400. So the other 800.
500.
800 could be outside of the police station.
Correct, and that is the point, that those are assigned to the stations. As you would be aware, there are other patrols, there's the highway patrol, there's investigations, CID, blah, and the others.
Just want to get an idea of what's supposed to be in and what's supposed to be out. Minister, Madam Chair, the Police Training Academy, what has happened to that? Is there any...
It actually won an award last year, an international award for being...
What line item is that?
Is it in
Under
terms
training.
of...
What line item is that?
Under training.
Which line item is that?
Training
God,
is
17. Look at it and educate
All right,
yourself.
the Police Academy actually won an
Order.
international award last year for the level of training that's taking place, and they've actually just signed 3 MOUs with 3 international universities to ensure the continued training of police officers.
Would you be kind enough to give us an idea of how many
Madam
officers?
Speaker, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Academy is on page 323 under 00902 other transfers.
What?
You are way ahead of us.
No.
Well, let's go there.
It's on page
So that
323,
The
00902.
question that Caroni
Question is
East should have
irrelevant.
asked is whether the police academy comes under this
Relevant.
item of training.
And the answer is no.
He has no respect for you, Madam Chair.
I
Member
do.
for Couva South.
Madam Chair. Mr. Minister, at page 320, 17 training. Within recent times, there have been incidents or instances where persons who were alleged to have been suffering from mental health issues were shot and killed by officers of the police service in responding to certain situations and scenarios. Could you tell us what plans are there within the police service to, if there's a special unit or what type of training to emerge as it relates to dealing with these scenarios?
Member, I think before you get there, you most probably would want to ask, what is this training food utilized for? Because there's an underlying assumption which may be wrong. So maybe you might want to consider that. If you're asking that, the minister will allow it.
This vote is to deal with, as I suggested earlier, international training being provided to officers. For example, firearm training, polygraphers, and other police skills. What you've referred to, as you quite rightly said at the beginning, are allegations. So there are certain allegations. I am not here to deal with allegations, but the police service has taken note of the concern that in today's day and age, there are persons with mental health issues that they may need to address, and they are working actively on indicating to the officers of the TTPS how those issues should be addressed if they're confronted with it.
Member for Miaro.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Minister, line item 03 under uniforms. I just wanted to find out if, in terms of the fact that, in recent times we've found uniforms in the wrong places other than in the homes of police officers, if any consideration for this new uniform that we're getting, if RFID tagging can be an option in order to identify who's the owner of all these uniforms.
Correct. As you know, RFID tagging is quite an expensive proposition, so that would increase the cost. But one of the factors that we're actively considering in the change of uniform is it being more difficult to be counterfeited, and proper accountability issues as the police officers who are issued with them. If that can be worked into the budget, then yes, it is a good idea.
Okay, just one more item, line item 99 under EAP. I noticed from 2017 to now the figures are pretty much low, $300,000, somewhere around there. I'm wondering if noting the level of stress that comes with this job, is it that our police officers are not accessing the service, or is it a cultural reason why they're not going towards it, or is it not in use in terms of this employee assistance program?
What this line item is actually being utilized to do is a number of workshops, etc., to assist them in stress-related items and issues. But as you quite rightly point out, it is something that is real and it is actively being looked at.
Member for Faisabad.
Thank you.
Member for Kamuta Manzanilla.
Thank you. Line item 99. I know that in other jurisdictions, Honorable Minister, that it's almost mandatory for officers to be an ongoing evaluation. Will the ministry consider having that ongoing re-evaluation taking place?
Well, I mean, that's something that would have to be discussed with the police service. What I can tell you, last year, over 400 officers accessed under this line item, the EEP services and the conferences and discussions that took place. That is something that can be raised with the Executive and the Welfare Association.
And on line item 13, I know Shogunus East and Caronis raised it, and you answered stating that you were looking at the vehicles going out. But particularly, what caught my attention when you indicated that the areas that are vast, the constituencies where it's pretty vast, that you'll be looking at putting vehicles in those places. Would Komoto Police Station be one of those that you
Well, they wouldn't be limited to the police stations. What we're going to use this unit to properly navigate Trinidad and Tobago and supplement where it needs to be supplemented. So I am sure that the police are looking at the statistics. All of this is going to be done on the basis of data. I have seen that the police have the data as to where crimes are being committed across the country, etc., and the types of crimes. So that will drive where the resources will be allocated.
And in regard to that statement, my area is pretty vast. And of course, to get from one area to the next in Tamil, yes, would you consider even in Tamil an area for police posts, as it's very far? And in line item 21, repairs and maintenance, if this takes into consideration repairs to the Komoto Police Station.
Well, again, what this repairs and maintenance of buildings is for is, yes, all of the police stations and whatever repairs they require during the next fiscal year. Yeah.
Member for Point of Peer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the Minister, line item 36, Extraordinary Expenditure. Firstly, does it have the same definition or meaning as what it was in the Ministry of National Security this morning, where you had mentioned it was for covert operation? Now, if that is so, the 500,000 is very small. So I'm asking, what is the...
No.
No. So it's not for covert
it's
operation?
It's like for ID parades.
ID?
Parades.
ID parades, okay.
Member for Shogunus West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The line item 13, maintenance of vehicles. It has been brought to my attention, Madam Chair, and to the line minister, that several of the new car dealerships regard the police as bad pay, that they do not have a reputation of meeting their commitments to, notwithstanding they get this service. So perhaps I want to know whether there is an allocation here to deal with this matter within this item.
Well, you would have seen that there's an increase of $2 million, so that would be going towards the payment of outstanding invoices, etc.
Member for Princestown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, earlier, Honorable Minister, you mentioned about training, international training for officers. Can you indicate whether or not this line item will deal with any new biodata system and software, biodata with respect to citizens' data, any new systems and software for officers who will be trained in this particular area? And I really want to thank the Parliament for furnishing me with a copy of the Auditor General's report, a hard copy. Minister, the fake news you refer to can be found on page 73, chapter 5.
You need to grow up, yes? You should really grow up.
Member for Oropuch West.
Chair. Honorable Minister, just for my edification, line 23, what does fees represent? It's 7 million.
Member for
That is
Princestown.
your...
1 minute, please. Member for Princestown. Member for Princestown. I would ask you to leave the chamber, and when you're ready to behave in a manner consistent with what we're doing, you're free to come back. Please. Member for Oropuch West.
Yes, thank you. Line 23, Honorable Minister, as I said, for my edification, what does the fees represent of 7 million?
Yes. The different licenses for software, translation, and that type of equipment and software, license fees.
Okay.
Member for St. Augustine.
Honorable Minister, earlier you spoke in reference to a question from the member for Couva South in relation to persons with psychiatric problems and training of police officers. Could you tell us where we are at in terms of procurement of non-lethal equipment to deal with such situations?
Line item, please.
Member, the process is maybe if you final a line item,
line
you could
item
ask
17.
whether it covers that.
No, it can't
Thank
be
you so
17.
much.
17 was training.
Cannot be that.
Well, the training in the use of non-lethal
Don't try
weapons.
that. That was asked and answered already. What 17 is for.
Yes, member. With the question.
Yes, I'm asking in terms of the...
When the items are procured,
yes,
there will be appropriate training.
Thank you very much.
Member for Tabakit.
Again, under item 13, I'm concerned about these 428 vehicles that are non-operational for a specific reason. Is the Minister aware of the number of vehicles that are used on a daily basis to escort equipment across the country, and whether that's a productive use of vehicles of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service?
The answer is, I mean, how does one measure productivity? Because what those police vehicles are supposed to be doing is ensuring the safe transportation of unusual items. You see it, large containers, etc. across the country. So they are ensuring the safety of persons who are using the roadways. So is that not the fulfillment of the police's duty to protect and serve? I think it is, yes.
Is the Minister aware that on a lot of occasions that those very vehicles are running at a speed that is breaking the law with respect to what those vehicles should be, how
Member,
should
I
be
will not
running
allow
at?
This
that
is
under
repairs
the,
and maintenance.
Member, I will not allow that
Not
under
operation.
the item.
It is repairs and maintenance.
Minister of Finance, please.
Oh, come on, Madam Speaker.
I've already said that I would not allow it under the item.
It's the fifth person asking the same question.
Item 002, Police Service Tobago, page 321. Subhead 03, Minor Equipment Purchases. Item 001, Police Service Trinidad, page 321. Item 002, Police Service Tobago, page 322. Subhead 04, Current Transfers and Subsidies. Page 322, Item 001, Regional Bodies. Item 004, international bodies. Item 005, non-profit institutions. Member for Caroni East.
01, the police youth clubs, which are very important.
Which page are we on?
Page 321.
322, Madam Chair.
322 at the foot of the page.
Yeah,
Thank
the
you.
foot
Right,
of the page.
non-profit, yes.
The police youth clubs. You give
Yeah.
us a little idea. I mean, it's a good thing, but how many are there, and what are your plans for it, and so on?
There are over 130 police youth clubs that are assisting over 8,000 members.
And plans for the future, increasing?
To continue it and to increase the numbers as we can, as the police service can.
All right, okay. I wouldn't ask you about the programs. I will read it up myself.
Member for Kamutu Mansinilla.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, those 130 police youth clubs, do they all have permanent homes, facilities?
No.
Member for Faizabad.
Regards to the allocation, Minister, same line item, police youth clubs. I see you intended to spend 6 million in 2018, but was only able to spend 3 million. Is it that you're having a challenge in terms of
That would have been the
resourcing
cash
these
flow
efforts?
issues.
Sorry?
Those were the cash flow issues.
Okay.
Item 007, households. Member for Point of Pear.
Minister, line item under 00702, compensation to the estates of members of the protected services. 2018 you had budgeted 3 million. 2018 revised, you spent or incurred 1 million and estimated 1 million again. Could you tell us how many families or estates the 1 million was paid to in 2018? And why only $1 million estimate in 2019?
This, I think you may be thinking that this is the payment of the $1 million for any police officer killed in line of duty. No, you know it's not that, right? So what it is there is currently one application inside. I can't tell you how many applications were processed for 2018. In the 2 months I've been there, I have signed off on a few of them. So this is when a police officer passes away and you pay the 1 month salary or the 2 month salary immediately and this type of thing.
But you could provide that in writing. How many?
None last year, I'm told.
Okay.
Member for Caroni East.
The line item 02, Trinidad and Tobago Police Academy, to which I was referred earlier on.
No, we haven't reached 009
Let's
as
go
yet.
to it. Let's go to it.
We are in 007.
All right.
Item 009, other transfers. Member for Caroni East.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The Police Academy, could you give us an understanding about how many police officers are trained on an annual basis, and then the length of period of training from joining as in a recruitment exercise to completion?
All right, there's 2 batches a year, and as I just indicated earlier, that is about 250 a batch, so we come up to about 500. How long is it training? 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
So, on your training, let's say for last year, how many would have been trained, and what you project the training to be?
2 batches every year.
Of 300 each?
Yeah. No, 250 each.
Is there any retraining program in that police academy?
Yes.
And for what areas?
All different areas.
Okay, all right.
Member for Chaguanas East.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Excuse me. Just a question with respect to the line item 02, Trinidad and Tobago Police Academy. Is this academy accredited by or intends to be accredited by the Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is accredited.
Very good. And is it in the...
It's registered.
No.
It's registered and on the road to accreditation. They're working on it.
Okay. So the accreditation process has started?
Correct.
Member for Caroni Central.
On the same police academy thing, Minister, we have a situation in Trinidad and Tobago in which, over time, crime has escalated. The police academy trains the police recruits.
And
do they train higher up people?
The answer is yes. There are a number of courses, as I just indicated to a friend for Shogunas East. The answer is yes. And what we're looking to do, and we intend to assist the police service out of the Ministry of National Security, and have already begun the discussions with some of our allies, is getting more courses put into the academy and more relevant courses, CSI, use of technology, and those types of things, what to look for in fraud cases, et cetera, et cetera. So
Well,
that is taking place, and we want to increase the amount.
Okay, well, that's what I was getting at, which is that obviously the
Correct, you
training
have
needs to change.
Correct.
To be able to address.
And the police service has recognized that, and to their credit, they have been working towards it. When I had indicated earlier that last year the academy received this very prestigious international award, it is because exactly that they are doing it. Yes.
Member for Shogunas.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Same line item, is there any formal or intend to be any formal relationship between the police youth clubs and the police training academy?
I am sure there will be visits and this type of thing, but at this stage, no, there's no formal relationship. So if you're suggesting that the members of the youth clubs go to the academy for training, etc., no.
But if I can make if I may suggest and also ask
There's
the
something that
question.
can be looked at.
Yeah, you see, the corollary of it, or the parallel, could be in terms of the relationship of the cadet force in the schools and the future in terms of Trinidad and Tobago Regiment. I'm asking you to consider, if possible, an alignment so that these young persons could have an impact, a positive impact in their environment and the schools in which.
And that is exactly the mandate of the police youth clubs, and I'm happy to report that they have been meeting a high level of success, and the police should be applauded for the work they've been doing with these youth clubs, because exactly what you've described has been taking place.
And just, Madam Speaker, if I may suggest, and I will ask again so that you consider it, that there should be a deliberate program and a strategy for an alignment in terms of what they are doing in terms of the curriculum and what they could do in terms of the future academy.
Noted.
Honorable members, we will now move on to the draft. Last question,
Yeah.
member for Caroni.
With your training of 600 new recruits per year, 300 every 6 months.
You keep seeing, you keep adding, adding 100 is 500, 250 and 250.
250, right. What is your attrition rate in the police service on a yearly basis? So we get
about 250. So you're really adding a 250 a year.
Okay.
Honorable members, we will now move on to the draft estimates of development program. Subhead 09, Development Program Consolidated Fund, page 132. Item 004, Social Infrastructure.
What page, ma'am? Sorry.
Page 132.
New book?
New book. I thought it was very early for us to start there. Member for Point of Pear.
Madam Chair. Line item under B Police Service 001 Improvement Works to Police Station, $2 million increase. Could the Minister indicate what police stations are earmarked for improvements and what police stations they did in 2018?
All right, so this is the type of infrastructural work to be carried out at various police stations. And this fiscal, we're looking at, last fiscal, work was completed at Caroni, Crown Point, Mariah, and Woodbrook. This fiscal, we're looking at Charlottesville, Beach, Erin, Manzanilla, Cedrus, Rio Claro.
Yes.
Line item 038, Minister, establishment of new facility for traffic and highway patrol branch. Nothing was done in 2018. I see you bumped it up to 1.5 million. Has a new location been identified, and what is the, because I understand the traffic highway branch is established somewhere in Aranguez South, so I don't know if it's moving to a new location or found it.
We are currently waiting for property to be assigned by Presley, Public Admin. It's temporarily, as you say, in Aranguez, but we're waiting for a permanent home.
Member for Shogunas West.
line item 013, refurbishment of police commissioners' residence. I noticed, Madam Chair, that the line minister, that there was 250,000 allocated and is estimated 250,000 2018.
Which number?
013.
Yes.
Refurbishment of police commissioners' residence. Has this residence been completely refurbished?
No, that's for the swimming pool.
There was a lot of work done. It is not completed as yet, but we're going to look at it. If we need, we will approach planning and development for movement of funds to deal with it. It's almost complete.
Thank you. Minister, line item number 041, establishment of police youth club facilities. I'm looking at the $1 million allocation. I'm assuming this is not to build facilities. It may be to upgrade facilities, rental spaces. Would this fund be used to get things like computers, desks, chairs, and so on for clubs that are where they're getting rental spaces for? Would that fund be able to draw down on that?
So during the last fiscal, we were able to utilize this fund to, exactly as you say, properly outfit and provide the type of equipment that would be useful in the police youth club. To Matlot, Mova, Flanagan Town, Urupoon, Sandy Grande. This year, we hope to deal with Pinal, Woodbrook, Labray, Carney, Maruga, Marval, and St. Clair.
Member for Naparima.
The question is partially asked. Establishment of police, item 041. And in identifying the areas which you have listed, has attention been paid to where at-risk youths are located? I'll tell you, and they're doing quite a lot of good work in Bradport Secondary School. But the persons who join tend to be persons who are not at risk. So therefore the question is, is an attempt made to deal with the at-risk youth in the building of these facilities, establishment, and curriculum.
You want to know if the location of the...
And the curriculum is targeted?
Yes. The answer is yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
Member for Point Appeal.
To the Minister, line item 046 on page 133. Purchase of vehicles for the police service, 2019 allocation of $2 million. Could the Minister state how many vehicles this $2 million will bring?
Okay, this is for expansion of the fleet, and we're looking at least 5 vehicles.
5 vehicles. Okay, and line item 047, $4 million has been allocated for equipment to the police service. Could the Minister identify what pieces of equipment this $4 million?
Public order equipment, so use of force policy, in accordance with the new use of force policy, cybersecurity systems, and surveillance equipment.
Member for Shogunas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Line items 58 and 59. Upgrade of facilities anti-kidnapping unit of $1 million and expansion of Polygraph suites. Is this physical facilities being dealt with, or is it other things?
What do you mean by that?
Well, whether or not you have any kind of equipment purchases and so on, rather than...
All right, so for the first one, upgrade of facilities for the anti-kidnapping unit. Right now, we are aware, and the police service is going to place some focus and emphasis on it. The accommodations are a little less than ideal, so it's to ensure that they're properly accommodated. So that's the physical infrastructure, etc. The next item you talked about, expansion of the Polygraph suites. This is that it's really to expand the area being utilized and to add some Polygraph interview suites, because we are polygraphing a lot more, as you know, as answering one of your friends this morning with the prison service and the whole vetting, etc., etc. Okay.
Member for Urupuch West.
Line 029, refurbishment of Riverside Plaza. I believe every year I'm seeing the same line item. Okay. So what is the current status of this refurbishment?
Page 132.
Well, it has been refurbished over the past few years. There are a number of police units that are now utilizing those premises, etc. So what we're doing is making sure it's properly maintained and that the civil works, the electrical upgrades, plumbing, air condition, installation of IT, fire, safety, security systems are upgraded.
And line 039, expansion of facilities at the homicide area east. Where is this area exactly?
On the compound of the Aruka police station.
Member for Kamuto Manzanilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, line item, I have 3 line items. Line item 041, first one. I need to make a plug for my Kamuto Police Club, if Honorable Minister would consider. They need a...
It's not me, the TTPS are here, and I'm sure they've heard your pleas.
For line 046, again, a plug for a police vehicle for Kamuto Police Station. I have to. They're listening. And finally, line item 056, a new project. What this project entails?
Which one? 56?
056, yeah.
Social Work Unit East. This unit is temporarily housed at the police headquarters, and this is the unit that is charged with providing social and psychological support to police officers. So what we want to do is find a better location to provide this level of service to our police officers. So that's what this is for.
I noticed it says
We're not putting it in
east.
Kamuto, huh?
I noticed it says east. Is it because it's a pilot project and you started it in the east first? I don't know. I'm just asking.
They have these units throughout, so this is the one for the east. There's one in south and this type of thing already.
Member for Harani Central.
Just a quick question, Minister. Expansion of Polygraph suites.
Which one?
That's
yeah, 59.
I just wanted to ask if, because I heard you say something just now, if polygraph tests are going to become a normal part of the recruitment process in the national security system. Okay.
Yes.
So this is being established as a procedure.
This is an expansion of what is already there because we recognize the need and the necessity for it, yes.
Okay.
Member for Chaguanas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On page 134 under Administrative Services, item 001 and 003. Development of a computer system for the police service. There is an allocation.
Just 1 minute, please.
Where are you?
We haven't reached item 005 as yet.
No, but we can go there.
Okay.
Okay? So I'll call item 005 just let me ask. Member for Chaguanas East. All right, so we move on. Item 005, multi-sectoral other services. Member for Chaguanas West.
Yes, Madam Chair. So you have the development of a computer system for the police service and an allocation of $20 million. Could the Honorable Minister indicate whether this is an in situ computer system or is it going to be an operational aspect to this? That you have the link between the...
Operational.
Okay, and secondly, item 003, transformation of the police service. There is a significant allocation of $4 million. What does this entail?
For the transformation, there are a number of areas that I've identified that need specific resourcing in the police service that they expect that would assist them in the transformation of the police service. So, for example, some of the key initiatives will include reorganization, more integrated deployment of the K9 resources, key anti-crime strategy, institutional development through process reviews, re-engineering, significant investments in the next generation of leaders through personal development and succession initiatives, the implementation of a rebranded community relations program to improve the engagement between the TTPS and the citizenry and to win public trust and confidence.
Member for Chaguanas East.
Madam Chair, I was going to ask a question. I ain't seen it here, but if I could relate it. Well, in terms of the transformation,
yes.
And I know the minister just indicated that some of this money is going to be spent in community improvement relations. And one of the ways in which you might do that is through the construction of police stations. Will there be one for consideration for the enterprise area?
Madam Chairman, what line item are we on?
I believe 003.
We are certainly not on police station construction.
No, I know, I just
So it couldn't possibly
I don't
be.
think you were
All right,
listening.
okay.
I
so
was.
members,
That's why I've
if we
stopped
could
you.
go on, a member for Shogunas East, you
That's why
you
I've
may be
stopped
able to ask your question in
Yeah.
the next area, okay?
Okay.
That's
So,
why you're being stopped.
page
Because I was
223, Infrastructure Development Fund, item 004, Social
New book, ma'am?
Infrastructure. Member for Point
New
of
book?
Fair.
Same book?
Same
Same
book.
book, back in the book.
Page 223.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Page 223 to the Minister. Specific line item 009, construction of Besson Street Police Station. In 2017, $9 million was spent.
Could we have one conversation so that I can hear the question?
I understand Besson Street Police Station has been open and is active. Now I see a $14 million estimate for construction of Besson Street Police Station. So the question is, what is required for this increase of $14 million to a new police station? What has to be done? Is a new contractor been appointed in place for this
The
fiscal
question
year?
you're asking is?
I can answer what the $14 million is for, if that's the final account to close off.
Or is it a res?
Yeah, Besson Street is completed, the police are utilizing it, and this is the final payment.
Okay.
Member for Shogunas East, I think, yes.
Guidance, Madam Chair. And I suspect the minister will agree. I can raise that question here now.
Which one?
With respect to the Enterprise Police Station, there was a commitment given by the former Minister of National Security.
No, but there's no line item
No,
here
well,
saying,
the item I'm dealing with is item number under 004, construction.
no,
B,
but this
police
specifically identifies what are the police stations
I
going
know,
to be
I know.
constructed.
I'm just asking whether there'll be any consideration. I just want you to tell me yes or no. For
I will
enterprise.
have that discussion with the Commissioner of Police and his executive as what can be done.
So I'm pleading on
in
behalf of the constituency.
You don't need to plead. We will
Enterprise.
look at it to see what can be done in Felicity.
Thank you. So that's a better answer than the Minister of Finance.
Member for Caroni East. Member for Caroni East,
Yes.
you're no longer asking?
No, I'm asking the question,
Yes.
but I was just trying. Minister, is it possible to give us an idea of the site of the new St. Clair Police Station you're building?
Well, yes, workers commenced.
Is it
I
on
think
the-
in terms of the it's Serpentine Road.
Serpentine
Road.
Okay, not
where the
old
old
site.
Nehurst building used to be. Except.
Right, thanks.
Member for Kamuto Manzanella.
Consider again, Tamana. Thank you.
But I understand there's a new police station in Komuto.
Area is very vast, sir, when you come.
Member for Couva North.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Madam Chair. Line item 16016 and 017. Minister, can you give us an update with
That you
respect to the
have first.
construction of these police stations?
What's that?
Line item 016.
I know in Tobago.
017.
What was the question?
An update with respect to the construction of those police stations. Is it completed?
Thought you went
Is
to
it-
Tobago all the time.
I am speaking
Construction
to the
in
Minister of National
Old
Security.
Grange, the Old Grange Police Station, construction is in progress and we're looking to complete this year.
Right.
And then the Roxborough Police Station, construction is in progress, due for completion at the end, in the second quarter of next year.
Thank you.
Member for Naparimo.
Page 223, 64, 12B. Construction 09, construction Besson Street. 010, St. Joseph. 13,
Question.
Maracas.
What's the question?
The question is why none of these are in UNC areas? You don't have to answer. You don't have to answer.
Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $2 billion $176,150,000 for Head 64. Trinidad and Tobago Police Service stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The sum of $2,176,150,000 for Head 64. Trinidad and Tobago Police Service now stands part of the schedule. Thank you, Commissioner, and your technical people, and the Minister of National Security. Head 03, Judiciary. Head 03, Judiciary, $364,076,700. Okay, members, we're going to start at page 11. Page, you ready? Ready? I will now invite the Attorney General to make a brief opening statement, not exceeding 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It gives me great pleasure to confirm the outstanding work of the Judiciary of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Madam Chair, the Judiciary has been on a fast track of development. It has broken all boundaries, in particular in its establishment of its divisions of court in the last few years with this government's tenure in tow. We're very pleased to say that in particular under the Family and Children Division that the 2 children's courts are in active gear. We have had a significant amount of redevelopment already organized for the proclamation of the Criminal Division, and we intend to approach this Parliament to consider further divisioning aspects. We, of course, have on the horizon the introduction of specialist courts under the provisions of the Criminal Division. And in anticipation of that, the Judiciary has taken the opportunity to rationalize its accounting in meeting with a commitment given by the Minister of Finance in his first budget presentation, which was for judicial autonomy. In that journey towards judicial financial autonomy, we have come forward with certain amendments which will no doubt form the subject matter of questioning from my friends opposite. And in those circumstances, we're very pleased to receive the questions that members may have relative to the Judiciary. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney General. Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $364,076,700 for Head 03, Judiciary, stand part of the schedule. Honorable members, the sum of $364,076,700 for Head 03, Judiciary, is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subheads and items to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure and the draft estimates of development program. We shall now proceed to consider the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure, subhead 01, personal expenditure, at page 11. Item 001, Judiciary, Trinidad. Item 002, Judiciary, Tobago. Item 003, Judiciary, Family Court. Item 004, Judiciary, Children Court. Subhead 02, Goods and Services, page 14. Item 001, Judiciary, Trinidad. Member for Point of Pale.
Just a quick question to the Attorney General. Line item 08, there's a stock increase of $10.8 million in 08. Could he add some clarity what that is about?
Sure. Madam Chair, it's incumbent in answering the member's question to point out something that perhaps members may not have appreciated under this subhead for the Judiciary 03. If members note between pages 11, 12, and 13.
Madam Chair, we are on line.
Yes, I understand.
Page 14,
and I'm answering,
line item 08.
Yes, Madam Chair.
08.
I'm explaining the line item for increase, but my learned friend is not listening.
We're dealing with line items.
The mischief in what you're doing lead us to be going back.
Correct.
And therefore, I would really, I understand the need you might feel to give a very fulsome answer, but I'd prefer we restrict ourselves to the item under consideration so that we don't open the gates for going back.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll try my best to work out what I just have by way of guidance. The increase is directly related to the previous pages. If you don't want an explanation on that, I'll just leave it that way. There have been decreases and increases which have to be factored as a whole. What you make of that answer is up to you.
Okay. Line item 16, Madam Chair. Contract employment, $29,470,000. This year is estimated $95 million. Could the Minister just give us an appreciation what that contract employment would consist of and the levels?
Sure. I'll repeat the same answer for the previous question.
What is that?
Member for St. Augustine.
At line item 23 under fees. I see
Under, sorry, 23 under?
Fees.
Yeah.
Could you please give us some enlightenment as to the payment of pathologists from the judiciary? Of 3.8 million.
Sorry, what page are you on?
I beg your pardon,
Page 14.
Page 14.
Fees, small I, payment to pathologists and funeral agencies of 3.8 million from the judiciary.
Regrettably, I need to repeat the same answer that I just gave for the first one.
No, I truly do not mean any disrespect. It's just that I've never seen, and maybe I have missed it over the years, that the judiciary pays funeral agencies?
That's correct.
For what purpose?
For the movement of bodies, etc.
The judiciary?
Yes. Where there's an intersection in the line of what the judiciary manages,
yes,
there are direct charges, some of which include that very head of expenditure.
Thank you. We'll talk offline.
Member for Old Puch West.
I will take these line items collectively. Line 10, 12, and 15. And under line 10, you're seeing just relatively small increase, 200,000 with office stationery and supplies. Then materials and supply, 260,000 increase. And then for repairs and maintenance of equipment, 50,000. My question is, do you think this is sufficient in light of the fact that recently we had to adjourn matters because he couldn't get the paper and so to do a consent order? We have the complaint about printers, no toners in the courts and so. Do you think this is sufficient?
Sure. The judiciary is moving to an on-demand arrangement. So instead of buying en bloc and in bulk, the position will be that you're on demand for printing, for other services, etc. What that results in is value for money management. So we don't just buy, find out that we've overbought or underbought, that the users are required to estimate demand and therefore move to a more efficient procurement cycle so we don't have wastage. And to answer your question specifically, yes, we believe that the increase upward from the estimates from $700,000 to $750,000 is an appropriate increase, $750,000 in total, because we'll be printing less. But we recognize that we may need to allocate a little bit more money, and therefore we've gone for the slight increase upwards.
It's just an observation, Honorable AG. Perhaps the person who's taking inventory need to be more efficient, so you just don't...
So there'll be no more inventory. It'll be up to the user who's taking the inventory, individual users. So if you know you're using 2 reams, somebody else is using 10, there's no longer one person who's not aware of the individual user requirement. The user says what the requirement is. And therefore, we purchase what is required as opposed to what is expected.
Item 00, sorry, Member for St. Augustine.
Have an explanation as to how a judge could not deliver a judgment because he did not have paper? If this is an improvement in the system?
Well, first of all, that was a rather curious position in and of itself.
Yes.
But the fact is that the judiciary has just been using too much paper of its own. They were doing too many copies, multiple copies. But as you will know, I mean, as I've sat here, I've received a judgment electronically. And therefore, it's unusual for somebody to say, I'm not delivering a judgment when it can be delivered electronically. Judgments are sent electronically all the time, the PDF copies. As you know, as a practitioner, JSOs reach out to you. All court orders come by way of electronic mail in any event. And in any event, under the Evidence Act, an electronic version is as good as a paper version. So I couldn't quite understand that quite public utterance.
Thank you.
Item 002, Judiciary Tobago. Item 003, Judiciary Family Court. Item 004, Judiciary Children Court. Subhead, Member for Kamuto Mantinula.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable AG, I don't understand. I know what has happened here, but the decrease...
Item?
01.
01?
There's no
under
004.
16. Under 003, you have 16.
We are under 004, Judiciary Children Court at page 17.
Okay, so we have 16, line item 16.
Yep.
I understand what has happened, but in tallying the figures, what has in fact been transferred, can the judiciary facilitate in terms of carrying out its duties with a reduced figure?
The judiciary is not reducing any figures.
When you tally the figures and you look at what is in the judiciary, it doesn't add up, the
So,
allocation.
so the judiciary is not reducing anything here. What is shown as decreases in the columns here actually went to Trinidad. And therefore but Madam Chair asked me not to go there because those were on the previous pages and nobody asked the question. So there have been no decreases.
Subhead 04, current transfers and subsidies. Item Subhead 03, mine equipment purchases. Item 001, Judiciary Trinidad, page 18. Item 003, Judiciary Family Court. Item 004, Judiciary Children Court. Subhead 04, current transfers and subsidies, page 19. Item 002, Commonwealth bodies. Item, member for St. Augustine.
AG, some of us may appreciate what this is, but could you, for the benefit of many others, explain what this means, this transfers and subsidies of Commonwealth bodies, please?
Sure. Thank you. Honourable Member, under the specific items appearing under this subhead, you'll see Judicial Education Institute, membership fees, mediation board, etc. Commonwealth bodies, the Commonwealth Magistrates Association, Commonwealth bodies. So this is judicial membership, for instance, in judicial education bodies, etc. And these are simply our fees for membership there, so that we take the benefit of their participation in training and education and continuing education.
Item 009, other transfers. Honorable members, we shall now move on to the draft estimates of development program. Subhead 09, Development Program Consolidated Fund, page 4. Item 005, Multi-sectoral and other services. Member for Point-a-Pair.
The public, can I go to F, public buildings? At the bottom of the page?
Yeah, because they're all under multi-sectoral and other.
Thank you, Chair. AGF 002, acquisition of property for $2 million in 2019. Could you identify what that property location is and what it is going to be used for?
Sure. Madam Chair, the Judiciary, in conjunction with the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Works and Transport, the Office of the Attorney General has established a functioning committee to deal with the judicial development of buildings and structures. Specifically, the rationalization of property is required. In the period 2010 to 2015, there were no works conducted in respect of any buildings or properties, whilst there was a journey along producing judicial complexes which never materialized. With that in mind, this working committee has come together to identify suitable accommodation, because there are certain courts, etc., which are in need of significant repair, and the preliminary work of identifying a number of properties is what is captured for this 2019 estimate here. So it isn't identified for any one specific property. It is to function in that buildings committee where we can do the identification and retrofitting, if necessary, of certain properties that the judiciary is now identifying for its utilization.
So is it more like a recurrent expenditure?
No. In any public administration consideration of buildings for the judiciary, we have to identify, there have to be structural estimates, there will have to be engineering reports, there would have to be surveys, there would have to be a number of things to be done. And this buildings item is really for all of that work, which is why it's so small a number.
Thank you, AG. Forgive me, but could you tell us when it was that the Chaguanas Court, as one example, had been rehabilitated or repaired?
When it was?
The Chaguanas Magistrates Court. Because you did say shortly, and maybe I'm wrong, that there was no repair or so in between 10 and 15.
So the Chaguanas Court was intended to be a much larger venture.
Yes.
It turned out to be, if I'm not mistaken, was about less than the actual accommodation. Yeah. So what we got in the end for the Chaguanas Court was a reduction in size as opposed to a redevelopment. So the Chaguanas Court actually caused a loss of capacity.
Yes.
Because what was touted as a development for Chaguanas resulted in a loss of space for Chaguanas.
Yes.
So if you recall, the facility as it was opened was deemed to be entirely inadequate to deal with the caseload and volume load in Chaguanas.
Yeah. But could you remind us as to whose responsibility it was in terms of building and or repair? Under whose authority and responsibility was that during that period?
Allow this. I'm not even seeing a Chaguanas Court under this.
No, well, on a wider perspective then, yes.
Just 1 minute. Let me hear the question.
Yes. In terms of the responsibility for rental, repair, or build, during...
Yes, sure.
Was it specifically under the judiciary's responsibility?
If you recall, the Ministry of Justice was established specifically to treat with all of this. There were 4 ministers of justice.
Madam Chairman,
and we didn't have any development of the courts in those positions.
Madam Chairman, which line item are we on? May I ask? No, I'm serious.
Minister of Finance.
8 heads to get through today.
Minister of Finance.
Yes, madam.
I think the Attorney General is under, you have delegated this to the Attorney General. And therefore, if the Attorney General chose to answer well, I am not here about fault.
Okay.
Okay, so, honorable members, the question is that the sum of $364,076,700.
Go on page 6.
We at
page
item
4.
005?
Yes, yeah. I just want to ask one question on that. The transformation of the court recording system.
So I'm not hearing the member.
No, item number.
Item number 006, AG, which is the transformation of the court recording system in the judiciary.
Page 4006.
Page 4. Line item 005, multi-sectoral and other services. General public services, administrative services. With the terrible situation in terms of court recording system in the judiciary, where there are serious complaints about transcribing things in handwriting, and then there's not the automated type of thing. How is this little bit of money going to help that?
Sure. I'd invite the honourable member to read the judiciary's annual report, where there's a full dedicated section on exactly how far they've come along with their IT systems, because they're using mask technology to do voice transcription and other facilities. It's worth a good read. It's been published and it's in proper form.
Yeah, but would this money cover that?
I'd invite you to have a look at the annual report to see exactly how it's been done.
You are the minister.
Yes, it's provided here. Plus, we have a mid-year review in the event. But the Minister of Finance has done something which is exceptional. He has, by allowing for the budgeting in this position between Trinidad and Tobago and removing it from subdivisions, he's allowed the judiciary to use its money more efficiently because they can vie from head to head as they see fit.
All right, okay.
Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $364,076,700 for head 03, judiciary, stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The sum of $364,076,700 for head 03, judiciary, now stands part of the schedule. Thank you, Attorney General.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to the judiciary.
To all the members of the judiciary. Head 30, Ministry of Labor and Small Enterprise Development. We are at page 201. Head 30, Ministry of Labor and Small Enterprise Development, $371 million. Could members indicate when they're ready to start? Head 30, Ministry of Labor and Small Enterprise Development, $371,242,000. I will now invite the Minister of Labor and Small Enterprise Development to make a brief opening statement, not exceeding 5 minutes. Minister.
Thank you, Madam Chair, honorable members. We are indeed honored to once again be invited to meet with the distinguished members of the Standing Finance Committee to discuss our budgetary allocation for the fiscal year 2018-2019. Madam Chair, we at the Ministry of Labor and Small Enterprise Development have been contributing to the turnaround in the economy by working towards our vision of decent work, industrial peace, and opportunity for all. This includes the promotion of decent, productive, and sustainable employment, whilst encouraging labor market efficiency, still yet attempting to create and sustain a peaceful industrial relations climate. Last year, Madam Chair, I would have indicated to the committee that the Ministry of Labor and Small Enterprise Development, we have been doing more with less. I am pleased to report that we have actively demonstrated this by harnessing the internal resources and capacities within the ministry to undertake some key strategic actions, such as development of our homegrown strategic plan. We are very, very proud of that, Madam Chair. We did not spend a single cent contracting any consultants or any firms to develop our strategic plan. We utilize our in-house resources. We also redesigned the ministry's website and also a draft national workplace policy on sexual harassment. We have continued to strengthen tripartisan and social dialogue in the process of advancing the labor legislative agenda, which we committed to in the official policy framework and the National Development Strategy Vision 2030. Madam Chair, we as a team at the ministry, we are indeed very proud for our historic achievement. From 2016 to present, the ministry conducted 18 multi-party stakeholder consultations on 10 pieces of legislation unheard of over the last 20 to 25 years. Over the past year alone, we conducted stakeholder consultations on the Trade Union Act, the Employment Standards Bill, the Occupational Safety and Health Policy and Draft Regulations, a draft National Workplace Policy on Sexual Harassment. 4 draft policy position papers have been tabled to the Cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago with regards to amendments to the Industrial Relations Act, the Retrenchment and Severance Benefits Act, the Cooperative Societies Act, and the Trade Union Act. Madam Chair, we have also been placing significant focus on occupational safety and health and strengthening the Occupational Safety and Health Agency to become more effective and efficient. Madam Chair, I just want to remind this Honorable House that when I assumed duties in 2015, the inspectors from the OSH agency, they were all operating from home. And I leave that for all of us to draw the correct conclusion. In this regard, we are proposing that the OSH agency head office be relocated to Aranguez. This move would allow for a better, well-organized workspace, as well as to provide additional space to accommodate the full complement of staff to more efficiently monitor and service the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago. Madam Chair, we have doubled our efforts at the Ministry of ensuring value for money and efficiency and effectiveness of our programs, as well as sustainability. To this end, we have started the review of a number of programs and projects to ensure higher level delivery of quality service to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. In closing, Madam Chair, I would like to state that my team and I at the Ministry of Labor and Small Enterprise Development has proven its commitment, loyalty, and resilience through hard work and long hours. Together, we, with our creative efforts, we have been able to develop and implement a number of in-house solutions to resolve the multiple challenges we face. Given the limited resources, I can assure this House that in the coming year, the ministry will continue this trend and focus on value for money through greater efficiency, productivity, and accountability. I thank you, Madam Chair, for this opportunity, for this brief opening statement.
It seems that some members are being challenged at this time, so that, you know, members are always free to walk out, regain their composure, whether it's a laughing fit they're having or whatever, and come back and join us. Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $371,242,000 for Head 30, Ministry of Labor and Small Enterprise Development, stand part of the schedule. Honorable members, the sum of $371,242,000 for Head 30, Ministry of Labor and Small Enterprise Development, is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subhead and items to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure, the draft estimates of revenue and expenditure of statutory boards, and similar bodies, and of the Tobago House of Assembly, and the draft estimates of the development program. We shall now proceed to consider the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. And we're at page 201. Subhead 01, Personal Expenditure, item 001, General Administration. Member for Couva South.
Thank you, Madam Chair, to the Minister. Under 01, Salaries and Cost of Living. Could the Minister inform this meeting how much vacant posts currently exist at the Ministry?
How many vacant posts are available?
The Ministry of Labor and Small Enterprise Development, there are 192 vacant positions within the ministry.
And how many officers or employees are in acting position, Minister?
127.
Okay, thank you. With respect to remuneration to board members, Minister, could you, I see that there's an increase of 1,191,000.
May I inquire what number you are?
Item
Honorable
06.
Member?
06.
Okay. Yes?
Yes, I see that there's an increase of $1,191,940 in terms of the 2090 estimates. Could you account for why this increase has occurred?
Yes, most certainly. There are 13 boards operating within the ministry, and for this fiscal, we intend to reestablish 3 additional boards. That is Labor Migration, National Steering Committee on the Elimination of Child Labor, and the Standing National Labor Market Council.
So these 3 boards that you are saying will be reactivated or reconstituted will result in this increased allocation?
Yes, plus the 13 that we have operating.
No, your 13 would be operating, but I'm saying, so any of the boards have been reclassified to incur additional expenditure?
I don't quite understand what you mean by reclassified.
Well, Madam Minister, yes, you belong to the cabinet, and of course there are boards that maybe are classified as an A board, a B board, or a C board. And if they have been reclassified, let us say a board has been moved into a different classification, board members' fees or remuneration would be increased. I'm simply seeking your guidance. If any of the boards under your purview have been reclassified?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, I think you should be aware of.
Member for Chaguanas East.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Line item 01, salaries and COLA. Honourable Minister, this figure, will it include the persons who are on the job training program, the staff?
No. You'll find that under the separate heading on the job training program.
So it is not included in the ministry's allocation?
Yes, it is, but under the on-the-job training program.
It is not there.
Item.
Madam
Yes.
Chairperson, if it is not on page 206 and I need to come back, will you allow me to refer to that item?
Well,
Because I'm looking at, I don't want to go so far.
well, we only really at general administration
Yes,
001.
and I would have thought that this will be in the entire ministry. Isn't this the entire ministry, Madam, through you, Madam Speaker? Isn't this the entire ministry?
Madam Chair, the honorable member, I assume, is seeking to obtain information regarding the on-the-job training program, and provision is made for on-the-job training program.
Okay.
Within the recurrent expenditure.
Right. What I'm asking is, for the last time, will this figure represent all the persons employed in the Ministry of Labor?
Madam Chair, we are under general administration, salaries, and cost of living allowances, and the information is there.
All right. So we're under general administration. I think maybe you asked if it includes provision for on-the-job training program, and the answer was no.
Okay, so the answer
That's
is
my
no.
recollection.
Okay, so the answer is no.
Item 002, cooperatives, page 201. Item 003, friendly societies, page 202. Item 004, Occupational Safety and Health Authority, page 202. Item 005, On-the-Job Training Program, page 202, member for Karen, excuse me, Shogunas East.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. So I'll now pose the question again. How many persons does represent the staff complement? And the question is as follows. Number one, how many persons are employed in the OJT program? And how many vacancies? I see you have an explanation there. Includes a provision for vacant posts. So how many vacancies do you have to fill? And will those be filled during this fiscal year?
We do have, there are 30 positions allocated for public officers and 42 contract positions. So the total on the establishment is 72. The vacant contract positions right now, one director, a monitoring and evaluation officer, and that position was recently advertised, and interviews will be conducted shortly for that position. One clerk, and we are waiting Service Commission Department for filling that position. One auditing assistant, 5 clerk 2s. HR unit recently received persons from the Service Commission, but those persons were unwilling to go to Shogunas, and therefore we are still waiting. The ministry further awaits the filling of the clerk 1s. One HRO 1, a recommendation was made for a person to act, and we are waiting the outcome of that recommendation.
So how many monitoring and evaluation officers?
Only one position of monitoring and evaluation.
One for the
Yes.
entire program?
Yes.
For how many thousands of trainees?
Currently, we have a total of 4,919.
And do you consider that adequate?
At this point in time, yes, because that position will be buttressed by the officers at the level of the Ministry of Labor. At the end of the fiscal, once a person comes on board, and we will measure the performance and determine whether or not we should request an additional position. These positions, let me just explain. The structure of the OJT is a structure that was analyzed and developed by the PMCD, so that if following the filling of that position and analysis of the performance, if we are of the view that the program requires an additional M&E officer, we will do so by going back to PMCD for a second round of assessment.
And for these 4,119 trainees you have on the job, how many persons, the field officers, do you have, the placement officers, do you have visiting these trainees?
We have we have 19 placement and marketing officers.
19 for 4,109?
Yes.
19? Do you consider that an appropriate ratio?
I have not been advised of any different position or any further requirements at this point in time.
No, the question I was really asking is, do you find that that ratio of 19 to 4,119 is an adequate figure to supervise and to interface with these trainees in the field?
We have, Madam Chair, we have 19 PMO1s and 5 PMO2s. I do not operate, I do not micromanage and operate the program myself. I am guided by the recommendations of those who are responsible for the program. And at this point in time, I am not in possession of any recommendation for variance in the level or levels of PMO1s and 2s who manage the program.
So it's basically one marketing and placement officer for every 200 trainees.
Well, Madam Chair, one has to recognize that these officers work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Madam Chair, just for a little clarity, and in terms of this, you alluded to, Minister, that there's one performance and evaluation officer.
No, I never said that.
In terms of what are the head structure?
I never said that.
Well,
would you like me to help you?
Clarify for us. No. The purpose of this meeting.
I will help you. I did indicate that there is one position.
Excuse me.
Information.
Excuse me, member for Couva South. One person at a time will speak. You asked about a particular officer, the minister has said. She did not say that. She was going to clarify what she said. So, or you don't want the clarification? You don't want the clarification? Okay, so ask your question.
I am merely asking, well, the person or the title. You said that there was one title or person in charge.
Madam Chair, I did not say that.
Officer.
Madam Chair, the honorable member is asking me questions but not allowing me to assist him.
Go ahead.
What I did say earlier is that there is one position of monitoring and evaluation officer.
That position is being occupied by someone at the moment.
No, what I indicated earlier is that that position was recently advertised, and we will be conducting interviews before the end of this month to fill that position.
Member, I will allow you a new question.
Yeah. So, whenever that person is recruited, Minister, God forbid that if that person falls ill, there is some emergency and so on, who would continue to take charge of the program?
But, if the person falls ill, but there's no person in the position.
No, I said when. When? Act.
Madam Chair, that is operational. I fail to see. I don't understand what the member is trying. I am willing to assist him, but I don't understand his line of thought.
The line of thought, Madam Minister, is just to have continuity. That is all. I am saying that if the person goes on leave, God forbid the person fall ill and so on, in the performance of his or her duty, What is the contingency plan from your end? That is all I'm seeking, clarification.
Madam Chair, at this point in time, the program came under the ministry last year, June, and we did not fill the position, and the program hasn't collapsed.
Subhead 02, Goods and Services. Item 001, General Administration, pages 203 and 204. Member for Chaguanas East.
Sir, could you give us some details with respect to line item 1616?
Are you Madam Chair,
Contract
through you?
employment.
Are you referring to
Contract
Yes.
line 60.
Yes. How can I help you on that one?
I was asking if you could give us some details as to what is involved in that expenditure of an increase of 6.4 million. Contract employment.
Cabinet approved 84 positions on the ministry's establishment, and we intend to fill those positions.
You want to give us a sense as to what are some of those positions?
Yes, we have begun to fill those positions. Many of those positions, the incumbent in those positions, the positions were advertised, and in almost in all cases, the incumbents were replaced in those positions. But the process is continuing.
Do you intend to have any new positions created on contract employment? And if so, how many? No?
No.
No.
Not at this time.
Just for renewal?
Yeah.
84 positions.
Member for Old East.
And thank you, Minister, for being so helpful to us. I'm on page 203. I'm on 65. Minister, you'll notice at line item 65, the actual for 2017 was $10,000 more or less.
Just a minute, line item 65.
65, page 203. I hope I'm on the right thing myself. Yeah. You with me, ma'am? Okay.
Expenses of cabinet appointed bodies.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Good. You'll notice 2017 actual $10,000, a little less. You had 20,000 estimate 18.
Yeah.
You're now here at 19 with an estimate of 108,000. You care to tell us the nature of that increase and why was it so? Is there some specially appointed bodies that you are now providing for?
Actually, it has to do with the same three committees I was sharing with the honorable member for Couva North.
Couva South.
Couva South. Just checking to see if you remembered.
We know we don't see you often, but we know where you live.
The Labor Market Standing Council, the Child Labor Committee.
We know who on them boards?
The three additional committees we intend to bring to reconstitute for this fiscal: Labor Migration, Child Labor, and Standing National Labor Market Council.
Ma'am, in relation to that, not necessarily now, but could you furnish us with a list of the members of those committees?
Oh, yes, certainly. Not now.
Not if you have it now, it's fine, but it's something that you can provide to us.
Okay. We may have it. If we have it, we'll certainly make it available.
I'm also taking you to page 204, the next page. At item 66.
Yes.
Again, coming from a revive estimate of 40,000 in 2018, you have now 400,000. You can help us there as well. Would there be some special conference, seminars, or something in the next fiscal that the ministry is hosting that would account for that? And what would that be?
Certainly, it is the intention of the ministry to host various activities geared towards raising awareness on the historical importance of of Labor Day and the birth and history of the labor movement in Trinidad and Tobago, staff assemblies, outreach activities, and administrative professional days.
Okay. And that would include maybe the history of the oil workers as well?
Well, I don't think that the history of the labor movement in Trinidad and Tobago can be written without the history of...
Yes, because it's a good juncture to focus on their history and demise.
Well,
Ma'am, could I also...
I have no doubt it would prove very interesting for the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
On extraordinary expenditure. This subheading, Extraordinary Expenditure, page 203, number 36. We have noticed over the years you have no provision there.
What, like, Madam Chair?
Item 36, page 203.
Yes, 36.
36, yes.
We have noticed from 2017 to 2019 estimates, nothing is provided there. Is it that number 36, Extraordinary Expenditure, that is no longer operational, being used for any purpose that it was being used for before, so that you can take it away as a sub-item?
Madam Chair, rather sadly for us at the ministry, this extraordinary expenditure was utilized upon the death of our former permanent secretary. Since I have been at the ministry, there have been no other instance of extraordinary expenditure.
Okay. Could I also, I'm on the same area at number 96, fuel and lubricants.
Page 204.
Page 204. I've noticed, Minister, a decrease over a period of 17 to 19. It is now at $9,000. Would the ministry have factored in the increase in the cost of fuel?
Madam Chair, at the time the budgetary estimates were submitted, one would appreciate it was before the reading of the national 2018-2019 national budget.
So you would not have factored in the increase in the cost of gasoline? Fine. Thank you, ma'am.
Member for Shigona, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, line item 22, short-term employment. You exceeded the allocation. You got an additional amount of approximately 1.2 million. Could you tell us what is responsible for it?
What is responsible for?
The increase and the short-term employment. How many persons would that have catered for?
We have 37 persons on short-term employment at the moment.
And that would have been catered for by the 4.5 in 2018?
No, what we have noted is that the allocation received is less than the expenditure for 2017 to 2018. In 2017-2018, a number of contracts were expiring, hence an increase in expenditure in the vote for the fiscal year. Currently, a decisive decision was taken to reduce short-term employment at the ministry.
By how many?
Well, we are filling those 84 positions. This situation is one where contracts would have expired so that persons would have been kept on under short term.
You currently have 37 on short term?
Yes, and by the ending of this month, that number would be reduced further.
So more unemployment?
Well, no, these officers who were on contract and their contracts came to an end, so we extended it through short term.
I'm aware.
And we are satisfied with their performance, so we have no doubt they will continue to do well in the interviews that are being conducted and would be replaced on 3-year contracts.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm okay. I know what it can short term, I sign it off.
Item 0, 02 cooperatives. Item 003 friendly societies. Item 004 occupational safety and health authority. Member for Couva South.
Very much, Madam Chair. To the Minister. Minister, are you aware of a situation at the Occupational Safety and Health Authority where persons who have been utilizing their vehicles in relation to the performance of their duties as inspectors are not being paid the appropriate vehicle maintenance allowance?
So we had 13. Are you on item 13?
Yeah.
We are not aware of such a situation.
Could I ask you to look into it and become aware?
Well, what I have been advised is that that is not part and parcel of their terms and conditions.
Well, Madam Minister, again, people come to me from time to time, and I have a responsibility in the people's interests and the national interest to bring something to your attention under the appropriate line item.
And it's been raised and answered.
But Madam Chair, if I must say, the information lacks specificity.
Item 005 on the job training program. Member for Oropouche West.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, line 66, hosting of conferences, seminars, and other functions. I'm seeing an increase 100,000 in 2018 estimates and now 235,000 for the revised estimate 2019. Can you account for it or justify that increase? Page 206. 206.
It is for hosting a career fair.
Member for Shogunas East.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is it one career fair for 235,000 allocation? I would like to run that. I approve.
I am further informed that it's, besides the career fair, it's training for providers also, as well as trainees.
Training for providers. Who are these providers? What is how is the provider
We term
identified?
them providers, those employers who register with the program. They are referred to not as employers, but as providers.
So you train them?
Well, there is sensitization. Perhaps training is not the word, sensitization.
Okay. Madam Chair, can I?
Sure.
Honorable Minister, line item 17, training. You have an increase of 19.3. Is this line item with respect to the payment of the stipends and so on and the running of the program? Can you tell us what this line item will constitute?
That pertains to the training of the trainees. Each training program caters for about 350, 400. Yeah, between 350 and 400.
The training of the trainees?
The trainees, they go through a 4-day induction program.
So wait a minute. How many persons are you going to be training to amount to $194.3 million in fiscal 2019? I think you're misunderstanding this line. Where is the amount of money which will pay as stipends identified? In which line item?
Look what it says here, increase in the intake of trainees, 419. No, it says.
They could provide it in writing, Madam Speaker, rather than I detain the.
How could that be?
Okay. So, Madam Minister?
Yes. Madam Chair, Honorable Member, I'm sorry about that. This item here relates to the payment of stipends to the trainees.
Yeah, it had to be.
Yes.
Had to
Yes.
be. And that is why I was going in the direction, Madam Speaker, if I may. The question is really, you identified that up to now for this fiscal, you would have had 4,119 persons on the program.
No, 4,919.
Oh, it changed now?
No,
So
that's what I said earlier o'clock.
Oh, 4,919.
Yes.
Okay, could you tell us what was the intake of these trainees in 2016 and 2017?
We can provide that information at
Sure.
a subsequent date.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So,
Can I just a final. Honorable Minister, could you tell us I don't know if you could answer this question, but since 2015, if you have a history of the program, but certainly you took it over since June of, is it June you said?
Well, what I said earlier was that the program was brought under the ambit of the ministry from June 2017.
Okay. Do you have an idea as to how many of these offices would have been closed down under your remit? Were any offices, any of the OJT offices where persons could register? We had a number of them.
But you see, while we would have done that, the ministry has regional offices throughout Trinidad and Tobago, so that there is the operation of the OJT from all the ministry's offices.
Okay, can you tell us?
So no citizen, no young citizen would be disadvantaged.
Okay, could you tell us how many offices, therefore, you have as such?
Well, we have.
You want to put that in writing for us, too?
Certainly.
Okay.
Member for Couva South.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In relation to 16 contract employment, could the Minister inform this meeting how many persons have been employed under this particular line item under the program?
Madam Chair, I did give that information, but I shall facilitate the honorable member by repeating the information. 30 positions are permanent, well, public officers position pensionable on the establishment. 42 contract positions, bringing it to a total of 72 positions.
Member for Oropouche East. Member for Chaguanas East.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question, Honorable Minister. Do you currently owe any employers for reimbursements?
I am so happy to say not at this time.
No, not even one employer is owed. Very good. Okay. Remember, you're in the parliament, so we were recording.
Member.
Sorry. No. Yeah. Madam Minister.
Well, we owed 3 providers a total of a little over $6,000.
Okay, very good.
So it has been reduced considerably.
Okay. Subhead 03, minor equipment purchases. Item 001, general administration. Item 002, cooperatives. Item 003, friendly societies. Item 004, occupational safety and health authority, member for Oropouche East.
Ma'am, on page 208.
Yes.
Current transfers and subsidies. Minister, I'm looking at 08, funding for the laser office in Canada.
Excuse me?
What?
We under We had page 208, 004, which is Occupational Safety and Health Authority.
004.
Oh, we haven't reached yours yet, right?
Yeah,
Subhead.
that's 04.
Okay.
Yeah. I am.
Where? Item 005 on the job training program. Subhead 04, current transfers and subsidies. Item 004, international bodies. Member for Oropouche East.
Good. Thank you very much, ma'am. Minister, I'm seeing here the funding for the laser office in Canada. Could you give us and I'm aware that you have just changed the line item and moved it somewhat, so there is a provision that we'll see later. But my question really is, you had a revised estimate of $1.6 million in 2018. Could you just give us an update on the working of this office in Canada and whether that was the office that was identified to assist the ministry with your initiative of the truck drivers in Canada, the recruitment of Trinidad and Tobago citizens to be truck drivers in Canada? Was that the office assisting with that recruitment program? And to what extent have they delivered on that really ambitious commitment?
Madam Chair, I shall focus on the responsibility of the laser office in Canada, and the cost that is reflected there is as a result of new Canadian legislation which restricted the deduction from worker salary. 5% of these deductions were utilized to fund the operations of the liaison labor office in Canada. As a consequence of that piece of legislation, the government of Trinidad and Tobago agreed to accept the responsibility to fund the operations in Canada. As such, this vote has been created to facilitate those operations.
So ma'am, it has nothing to do with the truck driver recruitment program. It was not used for that purpose.
Madam Chair, there is no such program within the operations of the ministry.
Thank you.
Member for Couva South, do you have a question? No. All right, so we go on to item 005, non-profit institutions. Item 007, households. Member for Couva South.
Thank you. To the Minister under 04, settlement of claims for former URP workers. I see an allocation of $21,944,303. Minister, could you...
Member, could you read that properly? For what fiscal year are we speaking of?
2018. And I see that there's a decrease. There's a line item. And I just wanted to make an inquiry.
Madam Chair, what is the inquiry the honorable member is asking?
Madam Minister, are you willing to make the terms of settlement in relation to this particular line item available to this meeting?
Member, there's no terms of settlement.
Well, settlement of claims.
There's nothing under the 2019 estimates for this. So that, I mean, I don't understand the question that you would like me to ask the honorable member to answer.
I am simply asking, Madam Chair, in relation to this particular line item, for the minister to furnish this said meeting with the information that resulted in this settlement of claim.
Member, I'm not going to allow that question to be on fiscal 2019. Member for Oropouche East.
The question I would have is at the same 04 on page 209.
Yes.
Settlement of claims.
Yes.
And revised expenditure for 2019 of 2018, sorry, 21 million. Could the minister just simply supply to the House a list of the names of persons, payment, and the payments made to the persons?
For 2018?
Yes, to satisfy this 21 million, 21.9 million.
But aren't we really looking at 2019?
But ma'am, we can engage the minister on everything before us.
Well,
This is before us in the book.
I think my understanding is a little different. You may wish to ask something about 2019 in relation to something that occurred in 2018, but I don't think we really engage in an examination of 2018.
But ma'am, I was under the impression we can ask questions about this and seek clarification about expenditure, not just projected expenditure.
No. As I said, I think I made myself clear.
Sure.
Okay.
But ma'am,
all right, so
may I say before?
You have another question to ask?
How is it, the question is, how is it in other ministries we were able to ask on expenditure before and get the answers and get this? So maybe we were doing something wrong, ma'am, for a long time.
Item 009, other transfers.
Maybe I've been breaking the...
Item 0. Member for Couva South.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This $6,368,740, which represents a decrease in terms of expenditure at the National Entrepreneurship Development Company. Madam Minister, could you account for this decrease?
Madam Chair, NETCO is currently re-engineering its operation towards a higher level of self-sufficiency and will be implementing the appropriate strategy to reduce operating costs by consolidation of branches and other operational efficiencies.
So, in terms of this engineering, does it mean that re-engineering, whatever term, probably the 21st century term for dismissing people, could you inform this meeting how much workers would have lost their jobs at NETCO as a result of this re-engineering?
Madam Chair, NETCO engaged in a restructuring exercise and offer its staff a voluntary separation of employment and a voluntary early retirement plan, of which 46 staff members opted for VSEP and 6 staff members opted for VERP, which is the voluntary early retirement plan, bringing it to a total of 52 members of staff and who have all been paid their separation benefits and who are accessing services that they require from NETCO.
Minister, did NETCO engage any consultant as it relates to this re-engineering exercise or this job loss exercise?
Madam Chair, I am not aware that NETCO employed a consultant for the separation of staff.
I am asking, Madam Minister, did NETCO Board of Directors engage any consultant as it relates to its re-engineering exercise you have spoken about?
Madam Chair, the board of NETCO did employ a consultant to assess the entire operations of NETCO.
And Madam Minister, could you inform the national community how much did it cost to engage the services of this consultant?
Madam, I do not have that information at hand, Madam Chair.
But could you, if you do not know how much it costs the taxpayers of this country, are you aware of the name of the consultant or the entity that conducted this exercise?
Madam Chair, that information can be supplied at a subsequent time.
Thank you.
All right, member for Caroni Central.
Minister, 00901 National Entrepreneurship Company, Development Company. I just wanted to know how many new enterprises were funded in the 2018 year?
That is information we can supply at a subsequent
Could I,
time.
please?
Certainly.
Yes.
Item 010, other transfers abroad. Subhead 06, current transfers to statutory boards and similar bodies. And we go for the details in the relevant book, which is at page 183. 17, honorable members, we will now move on to the draft estimates of the revenue and expenditure of the statutory boards and similar bodies and of the Tobago House of Assembly. 17, Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies. Subhead 01, personal expenditure. Item 001, general administration, page 183. Member for Couva South.
Madam Chair, to the Minister, as it relates to salaries and cost of living, Madam Minister, I see there's an increase of $100,000. At this said institution, could you inform this meeting if there's any outstanding negotiations for any collective bargaining period?
Madam Chair, we're talking about Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies?
Yes.
Yes, there are periods outstanding.
And could you inform this House, this meeting, for what period?
The academic start 2008.
It cannot be for 2008, Minister. A collective bargaining period is for more than 1 year.
And 2014 to 2016.
That is for the
academic staff.
And the non-academic staff.
2010 to 2012, 2013 to 2015, and 2016 to current.
Okay. Thank you.
Subhead 02, goods and services. Item 001, general administration. Subhead 04, current transfers and subsidies. Item 007, households. Item 009, other transfers. Honorable members, we will now move on to the draft estimates of development program. Subhead 09, development program. Consolidated fund. We are at page 72. Item 003, economic infrastructure. Member for Couva South.
We are at business services, Madam Chair.
Could you give me the line item number?
Yeah, determination and impact of the minimum wage level on the economy.
009?
Yes. Madam Minister, I see that you have moved the allocation from $600 in 2018 to $200,000 in 2019. Could you advise when this particular initiative will begin, and is there projected completion date?
Madam Chair, the Minimum Wages Board, which has oversight of this project, they took a while to finalize the terms of reference with regards to hiring a consultant to undertake the study. And in light of this, the implementation will commence shortly with the tendering process. So hence the 200,000.
Okay, so there's no timeline in terms of
9 months.
9 months.
Yeah.
From when the engagement of the consultant is completed.
Yes. The gestation period.
Member for Caroni Central.
the determination of the impact of the minimum wage level on the economy, the thrust of that is to understand what?
Well, I think what the Minimum Wages Board, this was part and parcel of its plan for the last couple years. They were not able to conduct the study that would enable the board to determine accurately with the correct data setting the true minimum wage in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay. Now, the reason I ask, Minister, is because there are studies that have been done that link the minimum wage as a ratio of GDP and rank countries on that basis, and we are pretty low down on that. So that's why I asked.
Well, I am quite sure the Minimum Wages Board, whomever they would take on board, will take that into consideration, Honorable Member.
Item 004, social infrastructure. Item 005, multi-sectoral and other services. Member for Couva South.
Under 011, Minister, could you advise or tell us when the upgrade of the ICT at the college will be completed?
The college will acquire and install layer 2, layer 3 switches, firewalls, and access points, which together with internal cabling upgrade undertaken in the last fiscal would permit the college to significantly improve its IT services, including the ability to allow distant education, thereby opening up a completely new market segment in Trinidad and Tobago. And I think the director and the other members of staff are quite excited about this new horizon.
Infrastructure Development Fund, page 193. Item 005, multi-sectoral and other services. Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $371,242,000 for Head 30, Ministry of Labor and Small Enterprise Development stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The sum of $371,242,000 for Head 30, Ministry of Labor and Small Enterprise Development now stands part of the schedule. Thank you, Madam Minister. Thank you, Madam PS, and your other.
I thank you, Madam Chair, and honorable members. Do have a productive evening.
We're now going on to Head 11, Registration, Recognition, and Certification Board. And for the guidance of members, we are at page 50 of the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. Minister of Finance, are you doing it? Yeah. Okay. Head 11, Registration, Recognition, and Certification Board, $4,300,000. I shall now invite the Minister of Labor and Small Enterprise Development to make a brief opening statement, not exceeding 5 minutes.
Thank you kindly, Madam Chair. Honorable members, the Registration, Recognition, and Certification Board, hereinafter referred to as the board, is really a tripartite body created via the Industrial Relations Act, Chapter 8801. The board consists of a chairman and 8 other members who are appointed by the Minister of Labor and Small Enterprise Development. The chairman is, however, selected by the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago after consultation with such organizations as, in, well, her opinion, most representative of workers and employers. With respect to the other members of the board, 3 members are persons nominated by such organizations as, in the opinion of the minister, are the most representative of workers. 3 members being persons nominated by such organizations as, in the opinion of the minister, are the most representative of the employers, and 2 members being persons jointly nominated by the organizations most representative of workers and employers. The minister appoints the chairman and the other 8 members of the board and shall in a like manner appoint an alternate member. The board has a secretariat which is headed by a secretary who is the accounting officer. The Secretariat is comprised of 26 public officers who carry out the day-to-day functions of the board. The duties of the board are outlined in Section 23(1)(f) of the Industrial Relations Act, Chapter 8801. The board generally meets once per month. In turn, there are many committee meetings which seek to resolve disputes between the parties. Sometimes the disputes are substantive and other times they are technicalities. Under this board, matters have been reaching the court more expeditiously. It is noteworthy that the president of the Industrial Court, in her address at the opening of the court's term 2017-2018, expressed her appreciation for the board's increased expeditiousness. I thank you, Madam Chair, and I avail myself to the honorable members' queries.
The question is that the sum of $4,300,000 for Head 11, Registration, Recognition and Certification Board, stand part of the schedule. Honorable members, the sum of $4,300,000 for Head 11, Registration, Recognition and Certification Board, is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subheads and items to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. So we are at page 50. Subhead 01, Personal Expenditure, item 001. Member for Couva South.
Madam Chair, just very quickly, remuneration to board members, there's an increase of $235,000, Madam Minister. This increase in allocation is as a result of
once the new board is in place, there is a program, a plan to be implemented which require additional hearings, and that would engender additional cost. The board members would have to be paid for additional sit-ins.
Okay. So, and when will this board be constituted?
I am hoping, through you, Madam Chair, I am hoping that the board would be constituted in a short while. Her Excellency has the responsibility of appointing the chair.
Okay.
And we are awaiting Her Excellency.
And I just looking for information as it relates to when you said additional sittings. What?
There are a number of outstanding matters which have been classified as technical matters, technical legal matters, and as soon as the board is appointed, they would require open hearings.
Okay, so seeing that you have gone in that direction, Minister, could you tell this meeting, or probably at some point in time, how many matters are before the board to be determined, inclusive of the technical matters that you have alluded to?
We would have to produce that information, Madam Chair, to the honorable member at a subsequent time.
Thank you very much.
Subhead 02, Goods and Services, item 001, General Administration. Subhead 03, Minor Equipment Purchases, item 001, General Administration. Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $4,300,000 for Head 11, Registration, Recognition, and Certification Board, stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Any against say no. I think the ayes have it. The sum of $4,300,000 for Head 11, Registration, Recognition, and Certification Board now stands part of the schedule. Thank you, Minister.
I thank you, Madam Chairman and honorable members.
Ministry of Education. Okay. All right, members, I believe we can start Ministry of Education, and maybe we could take the break around 5 o'clock. At least we've made some dent into Ministry of Education. Is that, of course, agreeable to members? Yeah. Yes. Head 26. Ministry of Education. I'll tell you where. Honorable members, in the interest of efficiency, we are starting at page 166 of the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. Head 26, Ministry of Education, $5,636,086,000. I will now invite the Minister of Education to make a brief opening statement, not exceeding 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the Ministry of Education, I thank you for this opportunity to speak to the allocation for fiscal 2019. The mandate of the ministry is to build the human resource capacity of citizens of Trinidad and Tobago in pursuit of sustainable national development and its stated goals, namely, 1, effective governance and administration of the education system, 2, access to educational opportunities by all learners, and 3, quality education provided at all levels. In order to ensure that the education system functions at an optimal level, the ministry has, over the past year, sought to institute measures that increase efficiency and effectiveness with concurrent reductions in spending. Adequate funding is, however, a prerequisite for advances in the system. Madam Speaker, with respect to the recurrent allocation for fiscal 2019, a total of $5.33 billion was allocated. The Infrastructure Development Fund is utilized mainly for the construction and upgrade of our nation's schools. Madam Speaker, I am pleased to note that the ministry has been allocated $25 million to effect repairs to 25 schools which sustained damage in the recent earthquake that measured 6.9 on the Richter scale. Richter scale. Madam Speaker, with your leave, I will provide responses on those areas of concern to my parliamentary colleagues. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $5,636,086,000 for Head 26, Ministry of Education, stand part of the schedule. Honorable members, the sum of $5,636,086,000 for Head 26, Ministry of Education, is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subheads and items to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure, the draft estimates of the revenue and expenditure of the statutory boards and similar bodies and of the Tobago House of Assembly, and the draft estimates of the development program. We shall now proceed to consider the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. Subhead 01, Personal Expenditure, item 001, General Administration. Member for Shogunas East.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. On the assumption that this involves the expenditure for the entire ministry, could the Honourable Minister tell us whether any sums have been identified or allocated for the University of the West Indies South Campus and also for the UWI's participation in the Children's Couva Children's Hospital?
Which item you're under?
On one personal, yeah, item 01.
All right, so.
General Administration.
Right.
Personal expenditure.
The answer is simply no. I have had occasion to make statements in this Parliament already with respect to the government's position concerning the Penal DB campus. Secondly, with respect to the Children's Hospital or the Couva Hospital, that is a matter that is under discussion between the government and the University of the West Indies.
So, just for the records, no allocation.
No allocation, no.
For either of those two entities.
Pardon?
For either of those two entities.
I said that none.
No, I just wanted to record.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Member for Couva North.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Line item 14, 1 remuneration to members of cabinet appointed committees. Minister, I'm seeing 500,000 estimated for 2019, which shows a 450,000 increase. Can you identify these cabinet appointed committees, please?
The cabinet appointed committees are stated here, for example, the Gate Standing Committee, the Gate Credit Committee, the Learning Materials Evaluation Committee, the National Advisory Committee on Education.
Item 005, Secondary Education. Member for Caroni East.
Line item 32, remuneration to substitute teachers. In 2018, there was a small sum allocated, revised estimates 440,000. And your estimates for 2019 is 1.25. How many substitute teachers you estimate that this will be used for paying in this 1.25 million?
We have an allocation, but at the moment, in the secondary system, we have a number of teachers who are qualified, whose qualifications have been assessed, and they have not yet been able to be absorbed in the system simply because we have an overabundance of qualified teachers.
No. This is substitute teachers.
Yes, so what I'm saying is that because we have a plethora of qualified persons
in the system
already, at this point, there isn't much need for substitute teachers.
Okay, thank you.
Member for Shogunas East.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Line item 01, same secondary education.
Yes.
Honourable Minister, could you tell us how many vacant posts there are in the secondary school system versus how many are provisioned for? How many vacant posts do you have in the system?
All right, I'll give you that information in a while.
Okay.
Item 006, Primary Education. Member for Caroni East.
I want to pose the same question to the Honourable Minister for the primary school education. How many are on
All right.
the complement?
In the interest of time, I'll supply that information to you. Okay, I have it here now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's start with the primary school. I hope you don't mind.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's fine.
there are 371 vacant positions, and in the secondary school, there are 911 vacant positions.
911. Minister, can I follow up a question on those? How many?
But the question to follow up would be on primary education. That's where we've reached.
Yes, for both 01 and 005 and 006. Those are the follow-up questions on those line headings.
Remember, what I'm saying is we've reached primary education.
Which one you want?
006.
Right. Minister, how many of those, the vacancies are from the denominational boards? If you have that. So
Okay, we don't have that, and we can supply to you.
same for secondary?
Yes.
All right, okay. Because I saw the denominational boards having some difficulties. All right.
Item 010, General Administration Test. Item 011, Eastern Caribbean Institute of Agriculture and Forestry. Item 012, Technical Vocational Education. Member for Chaguanas East.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, through you, Madam Chair, might you be able to give us some details as to this technical vocational education, these salaries and COLA for 2.1 million? Who does that entail?
Could you pose your question again, please?
Yeah, I was
sir?
just asking you to give us some elucidation on 012, technical vocational education for 2.1 million.
Yes. What is the question, sir?
The same thing I asked, which is, what does this really represent, the salaries and COLA for TVET? How many persons are employed in this? Who are receiving this 2.1 million allocation?
I will get that information to you subsequently.
Okay.
Member for Kabuta Manzanilla.
Madam Chair, and if the minister could also indicate the centers as well for the same line item.
Excuse me?
The tech box, the honorable minister, if he can also indicate in his response to the member for Chaguanas East, the centers as well.
But this is under personnel expenditure?
Yeah. The question is how many persons that the salaries are, right?
You mean where they're located?
And where they're located, yeah.
Okay. Item 014, National Examination Council. Member for Chaguanas East?
Yeah, sorry, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, could you tell us how many persons are employed in this unit? And I suspect it continue to be located within the ministry.
There are 28 persons employed.
And they are responsible for setting it. They're really responsible for setting the exam. Well, they will contract people to set the NEC exams. So you have 28, how many said? 28 persons?
28, yes.
28 persons. And you have an idea if you can give us as to how many centers they are responsible for?
Well, there are tech work centers in most of the former senior comprehensive schools. Okay. And in some of the traditional secondary schools, there are also offerings of technical vocational subject areas.
Members, sorry.
Are we in National Examinations Council?
Yeah, I'm finished with it now, Madam Chair.
You finished?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Okay.
Item 016, Scholarships and Advanced Training Division. Subhead 02, Goods and Services. Item 001, General Administration. Item 005, Secondary Education. Item 006, primary education. Page 173. Member for Kamuto Manzanilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, line item 12. Does this material and supplies, does it by chance include cleaning items?
I'm having a difficulty in hearing you. Could you repeat it, please?
Line item 12.
Cleaning materials.
Under materials and supplies? Yes, of course, it will include that.
Honorable Minister, I see that you have an increase of 100,000. I know that a number of schools have been complaining that they're not getting any cleaning supplies. Do you think that this will be adequate enough to supply the schools, especially the primary schools?
There are two ways I can answer your question. First of all, I am sure and I'm confident that the money allocated will be sufficient. The second aspect of your question is, will the allocation be made on time? And it is only if the allocations are made on time, then we can have the schools cleaned efficiently. And we will do everything to ensure that those allocations to the schools will be made on time.
Member for Caroni East.
Can I ask the Minister on the goods and services 02, line item 37,143?
Wait, we had 006, right? Primary education.
You fly through there?
Page 173.
All right.
I will allow you any question from 01 under 006 to 21.
All right. I want to ask about line item 15.
Repairs and maintenance.
For equipment. Yeah.
Yes.
You have almost a negligible vote there. And also for repairs and maintenance and buildings, number 21. When there are so many Ministry of Education buildings that are going under and needing repairs, why is there just a small subvention of 1.2 million for buildings and 200,000 for equipment when you know as well as many of us know that equipment needs more help and buildings need help? What is your comment on that?
He is nowhere we have one ministry building.
This allocation is for our head office.
And so you have all the equipment in the head office now, you believe?
No, the allocation is for our head office.
That's a new one on the Richmond Street?
St. Vincent Street.
St. Vincent Street. Okay, fine.
Item 007, district services. And member for Caroni East, so that I would not be accused of flying on
No,
page
I will not
173.
accuse you, Madam Minister. Madam Chair.
Item 008, Rudranath Kapildeo Learning Resource Center.
No, the district services is 15, and the same question I want to ask the Minister. 15 and 21, the repairs and maintenance for equipment and building, which falls under district services division. And I think both ministers know that the districts are in need of help for repairs to their buildings. What happened? Why is there such a small vote when you need the help?
There are 7
I'm with you,
district.
I'm with you on it. I will try. Go ahead.
There are 7 district offices, and we have made a claim through IDF to have sufficient funds allocated.
Good. Thank you for the answer.
Can I fly on, sir?
Yeah, don't
Yes,
fly on,
member.
but go. Let's
Item
go.
008, Rudranath Kapildeo Learning Resource Center. Item 00.
Right. Repairs and maintenance for the Rudranath Kapildeo Learning Resource Center and the maintenance. People workers in Ministry of Education have found difficulty with the infrastructure at Rudranath Learning Resource Center, which needs an upgrade. Is there any determination to upgrade that RLRC building this year coming or in the future?
Yes, sir? You finished?
Yeah, I'm just asking you.
Yes. We have an allocation under the development program of $4 million that will be applied to the RC LRC.
Good. We had started a wing, we had started the issue of putting up a wing. Has that, when almost 2015, has that been left?
Remember, is that under repairs and maintenance, or having regard to the
I will
question
come to it when he says the
response?
IDF.
All right, so you'll ask it under IDF.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Item 009, Early Childhood Care and Education Unit, pages 174 to 175. Member for Couva South.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Under 22, short-term employment on 174, there's an allocation of $3.5 million. Minister, in recent times we have been seeing reports in the public domain where contracts for employment in the early childhood education fraternity was not renewed and so on. Does this 3.5 million take into consideration that in relation to having all your staffing for the early childhood education centers throughout Trinidad and Tobago?
The ECC centers have been staffed by teachers and assistant teachers, and recently we were able to renew the contracts for 3 years of persons involved in this sector. Pardon?
How many employees under the ECC sector?
Yes, 174 teachers so far.
How many vacancies would be there then if you employ 174?
This one, please. All right, in the interest of time, we'll give you that in writing.
Yeah, I'll appreciate that. Janitorial services line item. Sorry, Rudy. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if you would grant me permission.
Yes, member for
Thank you. Mr. Minister, in relation to this employment, are there any plans for the opening of additional early childhood centers in this fiscal year, which will lead in the direction of the need for additional staff?
There are a number of centers that have been left in abeyance, and we are doing everything possible to have those schools whose construction has not been completed to be completed in the shortest possible time. Perhaps you will get some good news very shortly. In terms of those schools that have been left in abeyance. And the important ones, yes. All 40-something.
Mr. Minister, I would, based on your experience, I would conclude that all schools are important.
And I said so, I just said that.
Member for Naparima.
Mr. Respect of the 009, and it's a follow-up to a question from my colleague. And I see in the PSIP that the Ben Lomond is 98 early childhood center.
PSIP and we recurrent?
No, this is related to this early childhood, 009.
Yeah, but recurrent expenditure.
Yeah, I understand.
Right, okay,
the
good.
two schools are 98% complete.
But
the
that
Ben
will
Lomond and
that
the,
doesn't fall
and
on
the
this line
Reform.
item.
So the question is, this recurrent expenditure, this increase will take in these two schools because they're 98%.
1 minute, please, members. A little patient.
Yes.
What item, and maybe if we
009,
yes.
there's an increase of 1.2 million. And I'm asking
Right.
if that 1 million will take into consideration.
But remember,
these two
before
schools.
we go there, right, the 1.2 million or 3 million you're talking about.
1.239 million increase.
Right. Isn't that an aggregate of all the various items, telephones, water, so on, that are
Yes, it
line
is.
items
Okay.
there?
Yeah.
We
Okay.
have not started building schools
please.
with Lego.
So remember, I think, having regard to what you read, when we come to some other book, we will deal with it.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, thank you very much. Member for Shogunas East.
Okay, I just wanted to, through you, Madam Chair, to indicate, like my colleague, that the Enterprise EC Center will be on the important list.
Member for Caroni East.
Honorable Minister, the janitorial services. If it's only 100,000.
Item 37.
Yeah, line item
37, okay.
17.
37.
Yes.
If we have a large number of early childhood education centers under control by the state, who is doing the janitorial service for it if only 100,000 is allocated to that area? And where is the vote for that?
There are cleaners in the school. There are 22 cleaners who are attached to the schools, and those cleaners are on contract.
Okay, and how many schools are they taking care of? How many ECC centers?
129 centers.
So 22 cleaners taking care of 129 ECC centers, Minister? Something is wrong.
Okay, just let me explain, all right?
Yeah.
There are 29 cleaners, and then there are also cleaners on short-term contracts. Short-term contract means contract on a month-to-month basis. And those cleaners are there so that they can supplement the required need for cleaning all those schools.
So where is that vote, Honorable Minister? Where is that vote for these contract cleaners on month-to-month?
Short-term, we have a vote for short-term employment, and that will be taken care of in short-term employment.
He knows nothing. He knows nothing.
So the short-term employment includes both teachers and cleaners, or whom?
Yeah, there's one vote for short-term employment.
Yeah.
And all persons in the Ministry of Education who fall under this category, that vote will take care of them.
All right. I find it is-
Minister, just on the figures.
Are you finished, Caroni East?
Yeah, the minister has given me an answer,
All right,
but
so
I'm not
Member for
satisfied,
Coover
but
South.
I'll move on.
Madam Chair, just again, based on the statistics, and I'm not so clear, but I'm trying to follow the minister. Minister, based on the numbers and the allocation and so on of cleaners on the permanent and short-term establishment, to use your words, I would hope that persons who are being engaged by the ministry is not being paid under the minimum wage.
So the question is a statement.
Member for Kabuto Mansinilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, just coming back to that line item, if you can probably provide how many short-term, how many persons are on short-term contract, please?
Okay, we'll provide that for you.
Thank you.
Item 010, General Administration Test. Pages 175 and 176. Item 011, Eastern Caribbean Institute of Agriculture and Forestry. Member for Oropouche West.
Honorable Minister, I'm looking at 01, travel and subsistence. How many lecturers does this reflect payment for, with respect to travel and subsistence, in light of the fact that several of the core courses have been disbanded at ECIAF and several lecturers aren't there? So this traveling and subsistence, in other words, how many lecturers are present at ECIAF?
At ECIAF?
You mean how many lecturers are enjoying traveling and subsistence?
Yeah, at ECIAF.
Okay.
We will provide that answer because quite a large number of those persons have been absorbed under UTT. So when we have that information, we'll give it to you.
Thank you.
All right, I've just gotten it. 40. 40.
40 lecturers?
Yes.
But 300,000, Honorable Minister, to pay 40 lecturers?
Traveling.
Traveling and
Traveling.
That is traveling.
All right, okay. Right, good.
Item 014, National Examinations Council. Item 015, Spanish Secretariat, member for Shogunas East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Line item 16. If there are no contract staff in 2018, well, who spent the money in promotion, publicity, printing, hosting, and so on? Honorable Minister, if you have no contract staff, who spent those sums underneath? Yeah, nobody in the department, in the unit?
We have one employee.
One
employee, yes, in that department.
But the
under short term.
Okay. All right. Do you have any plans to, sorry, Madam Chair? Do you have any plans to increase the complement in that
Yes,
unit?
we are working on that.
Given the amount of persons we have now who speak Spanish in our country.
Yes.
Item 016, Scholarships and Advanced Training Division. Member for Caroni East.
Line item 16, Honorable Minister, Contract Employment. Can you kindly give us an appreciation of the complement of staff in this contract employment for 20 million? What would that, what type of personnel there that under contract employment, and how many?
Well, as you know, in the civil service, in public service, we have permanent and contract employees. Under this heading, there are a number of persons who are on contract that belong to this section, and this allocation will take care of their salaries.
About how many would there be?
I'll give you that information, all right.
All right, if you can, we'd appreciate it, yeah.
All right.
And that scholarship department now, under the line item 016, takes care of the national open scholarships and additional scholarships. And
Which item is that?
The same item, scholarships and advanced training division.
Which?
The same line item 16, contract employment.
Right.
Would that division of workers, would they be taking care of? Could you tell us what scholarships would they be taking care of in terms of management and so on?
We have a number of scholarships that
That's
are
why I'm
available to
asking you that.
students. Okay.
But this is not personal expenditure, isn't this goods and services?
Yes.
This is goods and services, yes?
Yes.
So is that a question?
Yes, so Madam Chair, if they're employed, they have to be doing certain jobs. So I'm just asking them their line responsibility for X number of workers under the division. What is their line responsibility for these contract officers?
Thank you.
No, let the minister answer now. You're not minister.
Yes, I agree with my Minister of Finance.
Yeah, what you agree to, Minister?
Goods and services. So you're asking what services those persons perform.
Yes, all right, go ahead. Go ahead. Nothing is wrong, but you don't want to answer, so I'm leaving it. No.
Well, I see member for Couva South is giving me a certain kind of signal. I don't know if he would like to also confer with his colleague from Caroni East.
Madam Chair, where I came from, I like to adhere to terms and conditions.
All right. All right, so honorable members, I now consider item 016, scholarships and advanced training division complete. And I think now is a convenient time for us to take the suspension for tea. We shall resume at subhead 03, minor equipment purchases, at page 178. And we will resume at 5:30. 5:30.